Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Oh, so precious. What a weekend. So many healing miracles. Mm. Yeah, Francis, yeah, so beautiful to see you again. And wow, it just, our hearts are open with this whole
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah, we David and I had a brief call, supposedly a brief call at an hour ago, and we couldn't stop. So we already had our own like gathering for almost an hour and rushed to the studio because we were so filled up by talking about the orchestration of the spirit. That's just such a fill our mind up with light by remembering the Spirit's love for us through the miracles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like trust is a big key. I mean, with the movie yesterday, yeah, you can't imagine the main character, Wally, played by Bill Murray, going through what he did without some deep kind of trust in his mind, trust in things just unfolding, trust in kind of being participating in something that he wasn't in control of, but he was told from the beginning, you're not in control of it, the characters. You're not in control of the theater. You're a participant in the theater, but you have to be very interactive, and you have to come up with your own lines, and you have to take your actions and have some fun. And it was billed as a gift and an entertainment, and I think that really touched all of us, that was an example of the miracle, even though it wasn't overtly religious. There was no priest or cardinals or bishops. There was no mystics and saints in this movie, but wow, what a demonstration of how far trust can carry you if you really give your heart to it and say, I'm not in charge, but I'm going to have some fun here.
Yeah. And it was so really touched me to see that he he's absolutely untouchable, invulnerable in that state of mind because in that state of mind you don't believe in fear has absolutely no space in the right mindedness when you see everything is working for you and you just he asked the enemy for what do I do next, still he can't be hurt. Nobody can hurt him because the state of mind that he was in. And of course, everything is just reflecting. And I was thinking of this other movie that sometimes David shows, Revolver. It was kind of in a similar sense. This guy was under the spirit's control. It's very strong and dark, intense movie, but his enemy hired professional assassins to assassinate him, and the assassin never fails. But this assassin just couldn't get him. And he even himself, the assassin himself, couldn't understand. I never miss a shot. I just miss this guy over and over again. It's like once you are under the control of the spirit, you cannot be touched because you're operating at a complete different level because the mind that you're in does not harbor any attack. An attack cannot be in your experience. That really, really stood out to me, that theme. And just watching the whole movie play out like that, it was very, very inspiring. Just so inspiring.
Yeah, yeah. And we started it off with that miracle principle number 11, which was basically saying the miracle abolishes the need for lower order concerns. That's not the only place in the Course where Jesus talks about this. And it's not the only place in the Bible. Jesus was basically teaching trust in God, pray, trust in divine providence, and everything will be taken care of. And he was saying the same things 2,000 years ago. Take no thought of what you shall wear or what you shall eat, he said 2,000 years ago. Those are definitely lower order needs in the higher perspective of waking up to God. Those are very practical things. And Jesus was saying things like, why do you seek after the things that the pagans seek after? And he was offering a spiritual wisdom of the highest degree 2,000 years ago, and just teaching people to pray and follow what his example was. And sometimes he would go off and leave the apostles, and he would go off to the mountains and just commune with God for his next steps. And I know a lot of you are actually wanting to be very practical with this too, with prayer and your next steps. You know, you don't want to just sit down and, based on your past learning, try to make a future plan. You want to be guided. You want to be shown, like Jesus taught, step by step. But I do remember parts in the course too that really touched me, was basically saying, once you follow the Holy Spirit, you know, you will be invulnerable. All your earthly needs will be taken care of. I remember even going into a Christian Scientist church when I was in university. I walked across from the University of Cincinnati into a big, beautiful Christian Science church. And as I walked into the main sanctuary, it said, God has met and will always meet every human need. And I thought, there it is again. That's the same thing. The miracle abolishes the need for lower order concerns. Mary Bakeretti was teaching the same thing, that you have to be in touch with the power of your mind. And we started off this retreat. I mentioned Susanna there in Sweden. She was saying, that's my one prayer. I want to know the power of my mind. That is no small thing, because once you start to get in touch with the power of your mind, then that's the end of the victim stories. That's the end of the abuse stories. That's the end of the neglect stories. All those ego stories that try to bring us down, like, oh, woe is me. I've been harmed. I've been damaged in my life, and I'm a survivor, you know, and Jesus is taking us way, way back in the mind to the power of the mind. And it's beyond the survivor, like the body survivor issue. That's just another self-concept too, you know, that people grab onto. I am a survivor. I will survive. Gloria Gaynor, I will survive. I will survive. You know, it's like we have to let go of that too. We have to forgive the survivor thing. We have to forgive the heroes. You know, all of our fairy tales have heroes. Who is the hero? Is it this prince or that prince or this knight or that knight or this princess or that princess? And Jesus is like, well, the hero of the dream is the body, and you need to forgive that body. You need to forgive that hero. And even your hero stories are just stories. You know, there's something, the power of your mind is the power that was used to invent all the stories. And the only way you escape the stories is get in touch with that. So that inspired Francis and I. We were talking about that today, of a lot of the experiences we've had over the years that, again, are practical examples, just like the movie yesterday was a practical witness to the power of the mind and the invulnerability when you're in tune, when you're in alignment.
Yeah, and that's truly, you know, this miracle principle, it's so encompassing and so practical, basically saying that let things be what they are, you know, and then focus on where really the change can be made, really. And that is in the mind. That's really the higher order. That's under the Spirit's guidance. Even it's so funny because yesterday I was telling David this morning, like since Friday morning, I keep having this song singing in my mind. Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. And I thought, well, this song is so familiar to me, but maybe that's somehow related to this retreat. And then yesterday morning, watching the movie, I had this song come. I thought, this song is from a movie that I watched. So I started to Google, what's the movie that I watched? And it's called The Man Who Knew Too Much. that's the movie, that this song is a theme song. As I was watching The Man Who Knew Too Little, I thought, I was laughing so hard. I thought, wow, that's why I'm hearing this song, because that song is like someone got involved in such an intense plot. It's a Hitchcock movie. And that is the only relief. That's like an answer from the spirit. Whatever will be, will be. Let things be exactly as they are, because they are lower order concerns and we have a higher order concern. That is where we should be focusing on. That's why let things be as they are at this level. And yeah, so I was saying, even as an example, I was just remembering this particular recent time, last October or something. JP was telling me that, because he's in charge of our websites, and he was telling me, oh my God, some of the websites are going down repeatedly, mysteriously, and we have no idea. We zoom into this particular app because that app was updated on those websites, but the web developer looked at everything and couldn't find the problem. And the developer is saying is the web host, web SiteGround, is the server problem. Server said no, it's the developer's problem. So these two parties has been bouncing balls back and forth and back and forth. And we were not knowing what the problem could be, and our site is just consistently going down for 3 months. And then this morning, JP said to me, like, okay, I just have to update you again. The problem remains. And this developer is doing everything. SiteGround, all that we know is they're basically saying it's not our problem. The developer is really active, but he couldn't find anything. And he showed me that this developer has posted on this tech forum this long post about SiteGround, about how those big companies are not irresponsible, pushing problems away. Angry post for 5 pages. 5 pages. And so I thought, oh wow, this guy, he is really charged up for this issue. Who is he? And JP said, well, do you remember we had a very long meeting 6 years ago, trying to pray about this particular app. And then out of all the different developers, we select this one because he's really stood out. So we went with, that's the guy. I said, oh, okay, how did it go for the last 6-7 years then? And he just suddenly outpouring this gratitude. He said, oh my God, this guy is so helpful for us. It's unbelievable. So he went on over the top, can't contain himself, his gratitude for this developer for so long. And then in the end, he said also he knows David. I said, of course, he knows David. He works for us for 7 years on all our websites. Of course, he probably checked David out. He said, oh, no. He knows David before he works for us. He was studying the course. He followed David. And then when we got the app, he said to JP, I'm so honored to be able to serve David in this way directly. And I thought, oh my God, I didn't know that. So we were in this joy of the Spirit's plan, the Spirit's love for everybody. For a long time, we forgot we came together with this problem that's unresolvable. We completely forgot. We just bask in this gratitude for this guy. And then after that meeting, immediately JP got a message from this guy saying, I found the problem, and it's an unintentional dot, period. I wrote in the quote. So I fixed it now. Whoops. It's his fault. And he deleted all the 5 pages of this angry post he posted about this other party. And the funny thing for me was that I thought, wow, it was too obvious for me. This all outpouring gratitude for him and for the spirit supplied a lack somewhere in the mind, supplied love to a call for love. Holy spot on earth is where ancient hatred become a present love. And the problem got solved. He found and he deleted all his hate messages. But that's where I always find we never really know how to solve a problem, because Jesus says the problem is a grievance and the solution is a miracle. And that's where higher order miracles take care of problems, because it's always coming from the love. The spirit knows where the lack is, but it's not a personal lack. It's not a personal problem. It answers everybody's needs, even in a way that individuals may not know they have needs. When I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. So basically, JP and I walk away from our meeting feeling very fulfilled by our gratitude. With our problem, we forgot about it. But something is happening and is healing for everything. That's really, just one example of really what our daily activities and functions, collaborations, and even problems are for, truly. To be witnessed, to be taught. I learn from the miracle. That's where our mind learns, from the miracle, from the peace. Then we realize what the problem even was in the first place. So
yeah, that's it. We can now start to understand some of the teachings that Jesus taught when he was here on earth 2,000 years ago. I mean, one of his famous teachings was, before you remove the speck from your brother's eye, remove the beam from your own. Or before you remove the splinter from your brother's eye, remove the log from your own. So he was teaching about perception. He was teaching about healing of perception 2,000 years ago, before there was talk about the mind, before Sigmund Freud and talk of defense mechanisms, before all the things that came all the centuries later. Jesus was teaching about perception before psychology was invented, before there was a field of psychology. Many centuries before the field of psychology was invented, he was teaching about, before you try to remove the speck from your brother's eye, remove the beam from your own. And I think that's what Francis was just saying. We've had so many examples over the years where we are pretty much just as clueless as Bill Murray's character. I mean, we didn't see any of it coming. When I first encountered A Course in Miracles, I was out at a humanistic psychology conference in La Jolla, California in 1986. And these two people showed me the course at their table, and they had a teacher, Tara Singh, and I just knew immediately, like, oh my God, this is my whole life's calling. I could feel it immediately, even though it was just at a psychology conference in California. But what I didn't know, and what Bill Murray didn't know in his character in the movie, he didn't really know what was going to come next. And I know some of you have written in questions, like Sabine, you're going through a big question right now, what's next for me? And Stefania wrote in, and you were saying, what's next for me? A lot of you, that's a primary concern, like, what's next for me? What's my next best right step for me? And what we've discovered is that the problems that we are presented with in this world are not what we think they are. And like with Wally in the movie, he just had the mindset that he was in an interactive theater called the Theater of Life, and he was going to have some fun. That's basically his bottom line. That was his context for everything, all the way through. Even when they were shooting bullets at him when he was on the ledge, he got a little piece of dust in his eye. He said, hey, watch it. That hurt, or I got something in my eye here, as if like he's aware, of course, that these are actors and these aren't real bullets, but somehow he got a speck of dust in his eye, and he didn't deny it. He said, hey, watch it. There's a little dust in my eye. You see, he still was staying firmly in the idea that it was just a theater. It was all just a theater. He never, ever came out of that. Even in the beach scene at the end with Lori, he still was thinking of everything in terms of theater. We want you to join our team. He was thinking it was a theater team. You see? It had nothing to do with espionage or CIA or FBI or anything. It was just always thinking theater. So that seems to be what's happened in our life. Like, we've had things that most people would say are major, major concerns. One year we were putting on a big event at the monastery called Strawberry Fields Festival. And people were coming from all over the world, and people had booked flights and tickets and everything. And we had done it before, so we were just in the full joy of getting everything ready and preparing everything. And people were coming from all over the world. And then one thing we didn't plan on was a giant forest fire ripping through the region and devastating, burning hundreds and hundreds of acres, massive fire, just blowing by the wind and blowing right towards our monastery and right towards our canyon. So I wasn't even there on the ground, but I was like looking at maps, fire maps on the internet, and I'm seeing this big wave of fire coming right at the monastery. It's coming closer and closer and closer. It's burning hundreds of acres, then it's burning thousands of acres. I don't even know what that would be in hectares for some of you in different parts of the world, but it was massive forest fire. It was very dry. There was high winds. And so we had to start to pray and consider maybe doing an online event. Even, how big it is to shift from an international, global, in-person event to an online event when people have booked plane tickets, when they've worked out accommodations with us and everything like this. So it led to a series of miracles where friends of ours from Duchesne were coming there, and they were digging like fire lines across our property. People were swirling. We were using another property we had at Camas for housing and lodging, because the rangers, the sheriff showed up and said, you must evacuate. You must evacuate the monastery, 49-acre monastery we're in. And here we're supposed to be having an international event. And the sheriffs are joking and laughing, saying, yeah, it's time to get out. You really need to leave. So we had to evacuate all these volunteers, all these people. It turned into like a major issue. That was one of our Ukraine moments. We had refugees. We had people that were planning to be there for helping us with this international event, and they were refugees. We had to start to get extra blankets, mattresses over at Camas and try to evacuate the refugees. These were our helpers. And then eventually, we just watched it come. And then when it started to come up the canyon where our monastery is, it started up the canyon. It started burning on the sides of the canyon. Our monastery is a campground in the canyon and a monastery on top, on the side. We have trees, bushes. It started to move up the canyon. It made it up near the Strawberry Pinnacles. And then suddenly we found out that firefighters from all different states in the United States all flew to Utah to that point where that fire was. And they started doing digging and techniques and all their master techniques, and they shut down the fire at the Strawberry Pinnacles. Firefighters came from all over, many different states, and they shut it down. And so we were like, okay, all right. And we came back and we had it. Now, that's not something that you can think that you have any kind of personal control over, like a fire coming that big, coming down towards. I should mention our monastery is like 99.8% wood. All the buildings are wood. So we were just like, okay, well, this is going to be interesting. But Jesus, again, he tells us in that miracle principle number 11, the miracle abolishes the need for lower order concerns. Like example, all of your buildings, your wood buildings getting burned down is a lower order concern through your monastery, you see, because the miracle is in the mind. It's a new way of looking at the world. I was actually saying, well, you know, if it burns to the ground, then, you know, we just continue on with Jesus, you know. It's like, oh, well, it's a monastery, it burns to the ground, you know, you roll on. And we have had that happen with many, many different things. When I started sharing these ideas back in Cincinnati, people started moving. I see AC's there. AC came from Utah, an ex-Mormon that came to Cincinnati. Lila was there. Charles was there. We had little meetings there, and people started renting houses on the street where I had my little peace house. It was built in 1847. They started renting houses along this Station Avenue, and then we were all there. And then when the guidance came to go to Utah, we did. But every step of the way, our prayer has been, Spirit, make it obvious. We are not in charge. We're just following. We're just being shown the way. And none of us really saw moving to Utah. I think it was Charles who first said, oh, there's a retreat property in the canyons of Utah that's for sale. It's only $1.2 million. And we all sat around the peace house and laughed like, yeah, 1.2 million. We don't even have the tiniest bit of 1.2 million. So we all just laughed, and we ended up going there, and that was the place where the monastery is now. And things have been shown to us. And then the more we were there in Utah, we had people from all over the world. I mean, when St. Francis had his little group outside of Assisi in San Damiano, you know, they were all Italians, basically. You know, they didn't have visa issues. St. Francis wasn't in the 1200s going up. Italy is not going to let you in the country. So we've had a mystical group, but they're from all over the world. So for years we had to deal with immigration issues, you know, for people to be there. It's one thing to visit, but if you want to stay longer and be part of the synergy of the miracles we're doing, you know, there was a lot of visa issues. And so we've had visa issues for year after year. We had like a decade of visa miracles, which are all, again, lower order concerns. Now, when you think that the country may throw you out, you may not think that's a lower order concern, but that's a lower order concern. Your state of mind is a higher order concern. Your happiness, your joy, your glee, higher order, higher order. The miracle is a higher order, but the miracle abolishes the need for lower order concerns. So we face forest fires, we face visa issues. Kirsten told you on Friday night, she was told she had to leave the United States immediately, and miracles unfolded. She ended up having a whole retreat over there in Tipperary, Ireland, at Sarah's house in Central Ireland. And so Francis and I just thought we would start to give you a few of these experiences that we've gone through over the years, because we were clueless. All we could do is pray and say, show the way, because there's no way that David and Francis are solving forest fire issues, visa issues, all kinds of issues that people were going, emotional issues, physical issues. We've had people in our community that have seemingly gone through grave physical things, from problems with their liver or in their brain or all kinds of things over the years, and we've had to resort to prayer constantly to do that. And then more recently, we had people coming from all over the world to Mexico and to be part of our community. Right now, Francis is in the studio broadcasting from a house that was donated over. It was donated for the purpose of what we're doing now. A friend of ours bought it and just said, here, I'll pay the utilities and you use it for God's purposes. But we have people in that house with Francis from Holland, from Denmark, from Australia, from the United States, from all over. And how are all those people able to stay in a community consistently other than more visa miracles? Down in Mexico, we've had floods of visa miracles. Maybe, Francis, we can talk about that, because this is clearly something that is a lower order need, but it's clearly something that you and I personally could not begin to solve, but we are quite clueless. We're quite in the Bill Murray, Wally state of mind.
Yeah, and that was also something we never really consciously thinking that is a need. Like, we need to pray about our concern of staying. What happened was our community members are quite happy just to do a 6 months, because that's the tourist visa, and then you leave the country and you come back. So that's, but everybody is very happy just to do that. But then I think it was last year, unless it was 2 years ago, at the beginning of the pandemic, where someone find this post on Facebook and saying that, seems like you can just get Mexican residency. And we were like, no, what do you mean you can just get the Mexican residency for what? Because it's a pandemic. Whoever who stays in Mexico, you can get Mexican residency, bypassing any requirements. No money, no finance requirements. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to be retired. You don't have to be anything. If you're here, you can apply, you get residency. So we were looking at each other. I remember I said to David, I don't know whether it's a scam. It sounds like a scam. It doesn't feel, looking at the immigration of every single country I have gone through, there is no country that's like that. And so David said, he prayed and he said, well, this is Easter. That's what Jesus would do for Easter. That's exactly what Jesus would do for Easter. If it is not a Easter, I don't know, but this is Easter. So, and it wasn't, at the time, it wasn't like you could just go down the street to get it. You have to drive 4 hours to another town, for the whole community to drive 4 hours to another town and coming back. And at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this feels just too easy, too good to be true. This is not, it doesn't feel like according to the law of this world at all, or any government at all. So, but that's exactly what happened. Everybody went, everybody got a visa, it just like that. No requirement, go for interview, walk out of the interview with a green card. And we came out and it was completely legit. It was legal. It's a government from Mexico put out this special program for COVID. But the thing is, we walk out, suddenly everybody have this residency in Mexico. You don't ever have to leave. You can just be here to be in service. This like a lower order concern of leave or stay just got eliminated, and in a legal way as well. So we were laughing this morning, like things like that happen. It's almost like Jesus is walking before you, before we actually even thought this would be an issue. this would be an issue. Pandemic is here. Nobody could really travel. We're all going to be here illegally. Is that okay? Is that not okay? Those questions hasn't even come up yet. Before that, boom, everything was taken care of. You don't ever have to think like that. Go focus on your purpose. Move on. That's where we're talking. And that's where I watched David, writing the miracles, always sponsored by joy, never come act based on a fear thoughts. Like the whole action is not sponsored by fear thoughts. Oh my God, we need to do this. Oh my God, that's a problem we need to solve. It's never like that. It's the total opposite. Every single prompt is sponsored by joy, a spark of joy. So we were just riding this wave of, wow, okay. And that's really how the lower order miracles, lower order concerns are taken care of, but really is our mind being washed. Oh my God, I'm taken care of. I'm loved. There is so much love coming at me. That's at two levels.
Yeah. So, and we just absolutely just really trust Jesus for everything. It's grown. I mean, for me, when the course first came in my hands was 36 years ago, when at that humanistic psychology conference out in La Jolla, California. But then when I first had it in my hands and then I opened the book, then I felt this wave of love and care and nurturing. This deep, loving presence saying, I've got you. I've got you in a tractor beam. I'm going to beam you up. I'm beaming you up to heaven. And you're already in the tractor beam. Now all you have to do is stay in the tractor beam. Just stay with me. Follow me. Listen to me. Follow my instructions. It's very simple from now. It's just listen and follow. He said, I will instruct, you follow. I will lead, you will follow. I've walked through this before. I've escaped the matrix. So I'm a good instructor. I've actually successfully escaped the matrix of linear time and space. So I said, yeah, that sounds like the best instructor. That's the kind of instructor I want, is one who's actually experientially escaped linear time and realized the I am presence that's prior to time. Before Abraham was, I am. So I was raised Christian. I started to go back to the Bible. I would read my red letters in the Bible where Jesus was speaking, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all else will be added unto you. Why are you concerned for what you wear or what you eat? Don't be concerned about these things. The kingdom of heaven is within. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. At hand. That's very close. And then he would say, look at the lilies of the field. He started talking about flowers. Look at the lilies of the field. They neither spin nor toil. And yet, even Solomon is not arrayed in such beauty and glory, the colors, the beautiful colors of the flowers. Even Solomon, King Solomon, doesn't have that kind of beauty and glory. When he's comparing my life to the lilies of the field, he's basically saying, I want you to be like that flower lily in the field. Everything is taken care of for that flower. The rains are there, the sun is there, the wind, everything that little flower needs is perfectly provided, not through the effort of the flower. It's just given through the grace of God's love. So then when I got to A Course in Miracles, the part I just mentioned on Friday, I'll say it again because it just lit my heart up. I thought, oh my God, this is he's just going in more into the lilies of the field, the divine providence. He said, once you have accepted the one function that you would fulfill, there will be nothing else. The Holy Spirit will not arrange for you. Without your effort, he will go before you, making straight your path and leaving in your way no stones to trip on and no obstacles to bar your way. Nothing you need will be denied you. Not one seeming difficulty, but will melt away before you reach it. you need take thought for nothing except the only purpose you would fulfill. That's what happened with the fire, not one seeming difficulty, but will melt away before you reach it. We never did meet that fire. that fire got snuffed out a few miles before our monastery. And it was a big collaborative effort, and people say, well, Jesus doesn't work in the world, but it was just symbolic that firefighters from all over came over and they stopped that fire before it came up the canyon to us. We had people staying in, we had people offering, one was a judge, a judge who had been trained in Harvard Law School, who helped us for years. Her name was Jacqueline, who helped us for years with religious visas for people who wanted to come and be with us in the United States. And years ago, I didn't even know there was such a thing as religious visas. I knew you could go missionaries and Mormon missionaries going all over the world, but what about coming here to the United States? But Kirsten told you that story, the parable about how she was told you have to leave the United States immediately. And then she did, and then there was a beautiful gathering over there in Ireland and one in Kentucky there, and the miracles just continued expanding and flowing. But also, there was a time after that where basically we were praying there in the Peace House, and I'm just a mystic at heart, so I don't consider myself like a churchgoer, or I'm not like church lady or church person. I wasn't so identified with the church. To me, church is a state of mind. Inner peace is my church. It's not a building or an organization. And I'm a traveling mystic. I was already doing some global travels and just sharing my life, kind of like Yogananda traveling. He did a lot of traveling. Yogananda and I have a lot of parallels. But anyway, we were at the Peace House, and Kirsten's visa had been turned down, and then it got to be 2008, and we were there, and Kirsten came to me and she said, Jesus is telling me that we're supposed to start a church. And I remember just smiling, like I'm like Bill Murray, like like he was in the movie, where, letters, okay, I'll go along with the letters, and then they end up bringing him boxes of money. And he goes, Lori, here's the money. You see, he was clueless. He just was playing along with all the props. He was just in the joy. He wasn't taking anything seriously. So Kirsten was saying, I'm hearing guidance from Jesus that we're supposed to start a church. And I remember smiling in the kitchen of the Peace House, and I just was kind of sparkling and smiling like, well, didn't see that one coming. I didn't have, in my mind, there wasn't a need for a church, a structure. And then I remember Jason was there in the kitchen too, and Kirsten looked over at him, and Jason said, I'm not hearing that. I'm not feeling that. That was kind of like the three on Friday night, Okay, do we have time for one more? No, Jason's like, no, I don't feel it. And Lisa said, we're not asking you. And so this is how it is. We're like the Three Stooges. We're just in this following Jesus, having fun. But you got to understand, I was raised in Christianity, so I knew about churches, and I'd been in many different churches and everything, but to start a church, Kirsten heard Jesus wants us to start a church, and Jason said, I'm not feeling it. No, I'm not feeling it at all. So it ends up that Jesus wanted us to actually start a church, and none of us knew why. Why a church? It's like, listen, he just gives the instructions. It's never for anything in the future. It's never about anything in the past. It's just about listen, follow. If he instructs us to start a church, guess what? We start a church because we don't have any earthly reasons to do it. But it's his plan, right? He's the one orchestrating time and space. So he's the one who says start a church. So we actually did start a church, and actually that church symbol got used in a number of ways with Mexico, and an adjacent holdings corporation that allowed us to do what we're doing in Mexico. And in the United States, that's opened the door for religious visas. And whereas Kirsten's got turned down, she said, with the Foundation for the Awakening Mind, Jesus said, start a church. Then he said, go out to Utah. So AC and all of us, we all went out to Utah. There we were out in the middle of rural Utah in a canyon, and we followed the guidance. Started a church, started a monastery, and every door opened up since that point. I mean, religious visas, tax exemptions, everything that's part of Jesus's use of time and space came easily. Whereas with Kirsten, the foundation, the door shut immediately. You have to leave the country immediately. Everything when we got to Utah just opened up like butter melting. It was that easy. It was that soft. Was it something we wanted to do? I mean, if you'd asked a group of us, do you have any ambitions to start a church? We would say, no, we don't have ambitions to start a church. That sounds like a lot of work. But if the instruction comes from Jesus, that's a different story. If Jesus says start a church, oh yes, because he was going to bring in people from all over the world who were to be there and work together. And he was handling the lower order concerns again, even the legal concerns, the immigration concerns. Jesus is like, I got it all. Like, please just come back to the original thing. Listen and follow. I will give you the instructions and you follow. You don't have to ask why. You don't have to try to figure out my motivation. I am the Christ. I am the Lord of life. I know everything. I never make mistakes. I bring glory of the glory of God to all my brothers and sisters because I have escaped the ego. And why would you question me? Yeah, that's right. I'm not questioning the Lord of life. If the Lord of life wants me to start a church, I'll do everything to start that church. Not that I felt a personal need for it, but I felt a guidance and a direction. So this is cascaded now, even after all these years and religious visas and renewals, and we have many miracles. We could write a whole book just on the Holy Spirit's use of visas. But when we got to Mexico, it was another realm. You know, this was not the same realm. It was like going to another planet. We might as well have gone to Mars or Jupiter when we landed in Mexico. And maybe you can tell a little bit about that, Francis, because we were talking about this morning, that a friend of mine from Cincinnati had contacted us and said, I want to organize a retreat, a couple of retreats for you down in central Mexico. And he said, I'll handle it. I'll make a website. I'll handle everything. I'll set it up. And all you have to do is come down to Mexico and come to Guadalajara, and I will organize a couple of retreats for you. So Francis, Suzanne, and I show up, and maybe you can take it from there, because we're just clueless. We're like Bill Murray on The Adventure, you know, we're just, okay, we're going to Mexico now. Let's see. We
arrived. That was the very first time we came to Mexico. Very first time we came to Guadalajara, and then we did a gathering in Guadalajara, and we were so happy. We met so many of our dear friends here in Mexico. And then after the gathering, we turned to the organizer, Bob. I think his name is Bob. So I said, okay, so the next gathering is in a week. And his face turned white, and he's like, I forgot to organize the second gathering. And we were like, you did? He said, oh my God, I totally forgot. That was the agreement and everything, even his budget. He flew us from United States to Mexico, 3 people. The flights are all based on 2 gatherings. And he completely forgot. So he he was, yeah, whoops. And then he got into this fear because he said, I can't cover your flights. I don't have a second gathering. I'm gonna be losing money to fly you guys down here, which he already paid for, and has no donation coming in. But he was in so much fear. He said, can you guys split the cost with me, split the loss for us with me, like meaning we pay the loss. And David is like clueless, so he's like, how much is the loss?
I could tell you from my perspective, it was the organizer Bob and Suzanne and Francis were having a meeting to figure out the finances for the retreats, and they all were so serious. They really looked. I was just sitting in the sunshine over there in the flowers, and I looked over and I thought, that is really serious over there. And Jesus finally said, yeah, it's way too serious. You get over there. So I came over and I pulled up a chair to sit down. And I said, what's going on? And Francis and Suzanne said, well, we got a pretty bad situation here. We have all these expenses and all these losses. And Bob is just saying, I won't cover the losses. It was my mistake, but I'm not going to cover the losses. So I sat down, I said, so I guess you have a split the losses party going on right now. And they said, yeah. I said, let's sit down and have a good time splitting the losses. And so everybody was like this. And basically Bob was not going to budge. You know, he wanted, even though it was his mistake, he wanted us to take on a lot of the losses. And so it went round and round and round, and I thought, oh, this split the losses game, it feels like it's going to come to a swift end. And finally it did. When I said to Bob, I said, well, what are you comfortable with? You give me the number that you're comfortable with, whatever it is. And he gave it to me, and I said, great, party's over, let's go have some fun. Because I didn't know it, but Jesus was just getting us down to Mexico, and he had big plans for us in Mexico, lots of plans. And it started with a split the losses party. And it was beautiful.
Sorry, we were both too excited about the stories because I just see, you know, at the time, it's so tempting for the mind to think there is a mistake. There can be mistakes. If you're not attentive, there can be mistake. But that's really what the movie yesterday was showing. You can't mess it up. It's impossible to mess it up if you trust. And that's really where David could be so like, okay, what do you want? That's not a problem, because there is no perception of something is wrong, and let's split hair for how to fix the problem. I feel like from David's perspective, there's no problem. It's only let's enjoy this moment. And then that problem gave us so much time. We had a full week that we got nothing to do, for nothing. We had to stay because our flight is not until a week later. So we were like in town for not having retreats, not not having participants to meet up to. We're just the three of us, you know.
Staying with a Christian minister named Tim and his wife hosted us.
Yeah. And then there was a book on the coffee table. Suzanne was looking at this. Is a realtor book, and has this huge house listed. And she's like, "Oh, don't make sure David doesn't see it." That's what she said. And then David, at the same time, taking a walk around the corner, he just walked right into a realtor office, and the realtor showed this very house to him. That Suzanne said, "Don't show it to David." The realtor showed it to David, and David was like, "Oh my God, check this house out." He came back and he talked to us, and And the realtor said, why don't you guys have a look of this house? And I can take you there on the day you fly to the airport. That's the day that he can get the keys. So the three of us went there on the way to the airport, and that house is our La Casa de Milagros today. That is the house where we're hosting mystery school. It's like unbelievable. We had no idea, at the time. You think about problems like this is this tiny, but the higher order miracles is supplying a vision that is coming from the end of time. You have no idea what the plan is. Just relax here. Nobody can mess anything up. Just trust Jesus, trust your brother, trust this moment. Have fun. That was really
yeah. In this world, we talk about like having a bird's eye view, but imagine Jesus's view from the end of time. He is orchestrating time and space and having a blast from the end of time. And you say, wait a minute, that seems far-fetched. How can you orchestrate time and space from the end of time? He says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Nothing is impossible to me because I transcended the ego. I'm just playing with the jigsaw puzzle and having some fun. That's all part of a prearranged plan that is really already over and done. The Holy Spirit did it in one instant, and you think it's taking time to play out. But the Holy Spirit handled this. Jesus is like, I just accepted the Holy Spirit's correction. That's what I'm guiding you to do. I'm using time and space to help your mind reach that point of leaping off back into innocence, back into I amness, back into spirit. So the fun part was for us too that it didn't stop there. Even though Suzanne said, don't let David see this house. When we got to the house on the way to the airport, guess which of all of us, Francis and Suzanne and I, guess which one was jumping up and down, could not stay on the earth? It was Suzanne, the very one who said, and she's still down there. She's still there in Mexico. And she just said, well, I was afraid. Basically, she just said, well, God knows if David gets us going in Mexico, God help us. And yeah, God did help, is still helping her and helping all of us because Jesus is the ultimate realtor. Jesus is the ultimate physician. Jesus is the ultimate financial planner. Jesus is the ultimate relationship planner. Jesus is the ultimate marriage planner. Jesus will handle, if you've got quantum physics problems with particles that seem to be out of order, he'll handle that too. He'll take you into the divine, the quantum field is where Jesus is. You got problems with molecules and neutrons and electrons, he'll take you to the field. Like Rumi, there is a field, I'll meet you there. That's Jesus coming through Rumi. He's using Rumi, he's using the poets, he's using the singers, he's using the songwriters. He's in charge of anything. He can't be stopped. He cannot be stopped. The ego doesn't have a shot. It's nothing to him, this ego thing. Now, to the world, the ego seems like the big bad wolf, the unconscious darkness, woo. And Jesus is like, nah, don't be afraid of the ego. I already handled that. Stay with me. Stay in the joy. Stay in the love. Stay in the happiness. Stay with me, and you'll see. And Bill Murray gave us a great performance of that yesterday. And we have used the symbols, but we have never really knew what was coming. We never could really foresee. Even we had a property up here in the United States for sale. And, I have no investment of whether a property sells or not. I actually have zero investment. If he guides me to put it up for sale, then people call me on the phone. They say, oh, David, I heard you're selling the property. And I said, no, I was just prompted to put it up for sale. I'm not trying to sell it. That's the higher realtor's job, not my job. I don't have to find a buyer. I don't have to find anything. If it's meant to go, it'll go. Ramana Maharshi said, if something's meant to happen, there's nothing that can prevent it from happening. And if there's something that's not meant to happen, there's nothing that can make it happen. Jesus says the same thing to us in the Course, where he says, what happens is my desire, and what does not occur is what I do not want to happen. This is a hypothetical world. People always say to me, what do you mean hypothetical world? I mentioned that on Friday night. And I say, hypothetical is what if. This is a what if world. And people say, what do you mean a what if world? What if the separation happened? That's what this world is what if the separation happened? And Jesus is laughing and he's going, would you stop playing that what if game? I'm here in the present moment. Let's have a party in the now. I'm right here with you now. I'm the Alpha and the Omega, and I'm right with your mind right now. Why are you playing the what if game again? Why are you constantly depressing yourself with what ifs? Yeah, Peter Sprunk, he gave us the now poem. It's all here now. Right now is everything. Right now is absolutely everything. And the what if game, you can choose to play, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would rather recommend being like Wally in the movie. If you're clueless and trusting and you have faith, then everything that you want, all the happiness and joy you want is your certainty, is your absolute destiny. What a life. Well, we had a lot of questions, and we love to do live interactions on these closing sessions. And Francis and I started to go over, there was some new questions and prayers that came in, and there were some that I alluded to on Friday. And I guess one of them was Stephania. We talked a little bit about her situation and about the conditions that was in there. I don't know if Stephanie is with us today or not. We have to have our searchers look. There she is. Hi. Oh, we can't hear you. You just have to unmute.
True. Sorry. Yeah.
Hi.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Yeah, my question, I don't have a copy of it. You guys do, but yeah. I know it's pretty much in line with this, if I feel this awakening, this flourishing happening, right? I'm being called in a direction. I'm being directed in a different way than I ever was before. And I have a family nucleus that I have with me, which I don't see as a barrier to that at all. It's actually, those mediums have been given to me. Much of the learning has happened through them, but particularly with my partner, he's in a very different space, and there are a couple things that continue to change in me, and I don't expect them to change in him. But I just wonder, at what point do I, when all these illusions have gone away and, that once held so much of this together, at what point do I choose to say, okay, no, I am willing to start this anew as sort of like a space for spirit to work, or this might not be, these uncomfortable things that are showing up and might be blocking more, not blocking is the wrong word, but sort of not aligning with where you're going. Maybe it's time to face that space, or another option, even a possible separation. I don't know. It sounds a little scary almost, but it's very possible. What do you do there? How do you, I guess, yeah. Pros and cons. What do you do?
Oh, it's beautiful. Well, I think I can just read your question so everyone has a context for you, because I think you articulated it beautifully. You just wrote, "Hi, David. I currently find myself at a crossroads. After my spiritual transformation, almost all of the illusions that got me into my marriage have vanished. Our career, material goals, our desire to be, quote, known in our worlds of art and sports, our bodies, etc. So physical attraction is very low, and although I feel happy and fulfilled through spirit, my husband isn't on the same path and does have very physical needs. Also, after the illusions vanished, I feel so much of what's left is me continuing to put up with certain ways of his that I'm not sure I'm willing to do anymore. Like feeling like I raised my child alone, and emotionally explosive encounters. How do I know when it's time to go, parentheses, not to escape, or if staying, I do love him, is still part of my inner growth and liberations? Blessings and thanks." Well, years ago when I started just sharing, traveling and sharing, and people started saying, "Oh, you're so happy all the time. I would like to be around you. And can I live close to you or live near you?" And I remember praying with Jesus and just saying, "Wow, how is this going to go? This can be kind of complicated with relationships in particular. Following your will, opening to God's will, and dealing with family issues, partner issues, and even if you have a group of people living near each other, call it a little community, there's community issues. It's all levels. Just like we have global issues, we have issues in our countries and international issues. It seems to be a world of issues and conflicts. And when I prayed to Jesus for practical experience in relationship and community, because I had visited many communities and in my travels, that's when he said, "I just want you to use 2 guidelines every day to guide you in taking your steps. And I'll be with you all the way. I'm just going to give you 2 guidelines." And the 2 guidelines were no people pleasing and no private thoughts. And I did ask him, I said, "Really, what's that about? It sounds, I never heard that before. No people pleasing, no private thoughts." And he said, "It's just about transparency. It's just about authenticity. It's just about not hiding. It's about being open." And he said, "If you're willing to be open, then things will be made more obvious for you by your openness, by not hiding." He said, "When you hide, you're hiding from me and you're hiding from your true self. And it generates a game. And then you feel like you're caught in the game. But when you don't hide, when you just speak it up, you share your feelings, you express in a way of kind of like the ancient Greeks and Socrates, the Socratic dialogue, where they came together with such respect. They were so highly respectful. No matter what was shared, they honored the respect of the sharing without trying to jam in an opinion or a conclusion or to make some justification. They just allowed open dialogue, Socratic dialogue, the ancient Greeks, even before the time of Jesus. So I thought, I can do that, because my prayer was always make it obvious. Like, I don't want a muddled mess. I don't want a muddied water. I want to feel a sense of calm in my heart and peace in my heart when I make my decisions, whatever those decisions are. And he said, "Well, if you'll value open communication, and you will really put your heart on your sleeve, and you will use the relationship for that transparency and that authenticity, then the previous goals for the relationship will be exposed as, oh, that's not what you really wanted. You were in it for the true intimacy. You were in it for the deep connectedness, the love. You were in it for the trust, for the expanding faith, walking together." And that's what I find has happened. And Francis can share too. That's really been the guiding principle of our communities, because the form of the community has shifted over the years. We've been on maybe 5, 6 different continents. We've interacted with people far ranging all around the globe, and people have either tried to emulate what we're doing, or they've just been in communication with us, like please tell us more about developing faith and trust. How do you go forward and let things just unfold and be shown to you with trust? And I think Francis and I have found that those 2 guidelines have been really helpful for us over the years. We even had a friend in China, our friend of ours named Nasheen. He was the first man that brought A Course in Miracles to China. And he is the most sweet, adorable man that you ever meet. And we were over with him for quite some time. We really got to know him very well, and his partner, Shajé. And they organized gatherings for us and everything. But one time he emailed me when I was back in the United States, and he said, David, I'm so happy I finally received the answer in my mind. I kept praying to Jesus and saying, what is no people pleasing and what is no private thoughts? And he said what he heard was, David is just taking the principles from my course and putting them into practical guidelines that will be most helpful in the spiritual awakening for himself and for everyone. And then Nasheen said, what principles are you talking about? And Jesus said, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So he was telling Nasheen that no people pleasing and no private thoughts were just the practical application of nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Because when we really trust each other to really speak from our hearts, it has to be a blessing. We are never really threatened. The ego may feel threatened when we do that. But wow, what a journey Francis and I have had. What a beautiful friendship. What a beautiful relationship and community that has kind of flowered out of that. And like you said, Francis, when you first heard those 2, at the very beginning, you were like, what is that?
Yeah, I was so shocked and scared, basically, because I saw the gap, how much people pleasing I was having, and how many private thoughts I was harboring, when I heard that principles. And it kind of like really unfolded from there. I felt like part of the reason that I was really able to receive all these miracles was because these are the feeling I feel, oh my God, this is gonna free me up. And then when I even David talking about China, when I came to the community after the first 3 months I was in the monastery, then I wanted to go back to China to visit my mom. And part of my agenda was I wanted to go back to do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it, for a period of time. Like there was like some kind of things I feel, okay, I've been with the spirit for 3 months, it's pretty disciplined, and now I gotta just go back and play out all my whims. And that's when I shared with David and actually Jason at the time, and Jason's like, I'll go with you. I thought, well, the point is I go alone. But then what happened was the spirit actually really rearranged the whole thing, because David said, oh, I received this message in Chinese from these Chinese people. Maybe you can translate. And it was actually a very sincere invitation. So I called them and I realized, oh my God, these people wanted to invite David to come in such a sincere way that I can't sit with it. It has to happen. It has to happen now. And I would do it. I would support David because I'm going anyways. So the whole trip turned into a huge whim trip for me, but it's from the spirit, because Jason went with me, and we did this gathering and met hundreds of people. And of course, I also could meet with my mother after the gathering and share all these miracle principles and tell her what I'm doing. Eventually, she even had mystical experiences after my conversation with her. But it all came from the function come first. And I didn't really know how necessarily to go about this other side of my life, and fully incorporating it. And then Spirit is like, I have a plan for you. I bring the mighty companion to your part of the world, and then you just stay true and stay in your function and do everything that I arranged for you to do. But what unfolded was truly is not my tiny life that I was basically doing. It was actually such a opening up to how the Spirit wants to bless everyone, and then also candidly share about my life and what I'm inspired by, and how the changes and turns. It was like a huge sharing for me, talking about no private thoughts. And David and Jason, I guess they definitely didn't judge me when I said I want to go back to China to, get some wind mat. So it was like, that's really how the Spirit take care of us. And I get to go back to China 7 times with David afterwards, all seemingly to share and extend the Spirit's message. But that is really where my mind get healed, convinced there couldn't be any compromise and sacrifice, convinced that all these people I love that seems even not on the same path are still in my mind, and they're ready to turn around, but in their own time, in the Spirit's timing, in the Spirit way. Even when David was talking about this visa, with religious visa, I have to say, I bet when David and Kirsten were praying about a church, they weren't thinking, oh, that would benefit Francis, because they haven't met me yet. But it benefited me hugely, because miracles blesses people you haven't even met. It cascading to people, everybody. And I came to America, I could stay because of, I applied for religious visa, and my mom was have so much grievance about what I was doing and talking about God, and she just couldn't let it go. And then one day she asked me, how can you actually stay in the United States? How can that happen? I said, yeah, I got a visa, employment visa. And she said, what's your work title? I said, pastor. And she just burst into laughter, because it was so far from her atheist background and how my upbringing. She thought it was the biggest cosmic joke. And she laughed so hard, and she couldn't stop laughing every time she calls me after that for a few times. But I actually really saw she never really take this so seriously anymore ever since then, because she thought, okay, if God can pull this off, maybe that is true, something. But I'm just saying, the thing is, yeah, if we don't compromise our calling, and I know you have such a big turn in your life, all coming from within, like, oh my God, something suddenly started to get resorting out in my life, and focusing on what feels true and what we really want and what is inspiring, not so much trying to get pros and cons of the Tao thoughts and the Spirit thoughts, but focusing on the Spirit thoughts and share from your heart candidly, like David was saying, yeah, it's okay, no private thoughts. And people pleasing is very much also based on communication. And then just focus on that function, really take care of it, and include everybody in the miracle.
Yeah, because we definitely learned from that movie yesterday that there was a higher interpretation and Bill Murray and the Wally character was showing us. It was very lighthearted. It was very clueless. It was very trusting. It was very faithful. It didn't have a bunch of religious symbols around it. It just was a demonstration of faith in action. And I have to tell you that, you know, what happens is in our human development, we develop skills and abilities, and you have like bilingual skills with the Espanol and the English. You have amazing music skills, singing skills, and the Spirit has already shown you that, how helpful those skills can be. You've probably seen it in countless situations. But it's more of a repurposing. It's almost like you just go into your heart chamber, your prayer of prayers, and just say, I'm yours, Lord. Like St. Francis did, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. And that's it. And then what happens is a repurposing. I know somebody told me that in a past life I was King David back in the lineage that Jesus came. They said Jesus was in the lineage of David. I was King David way back in the old days of the Bible. But there were all these songs. The Psalms are just songs after songs after songs. And in this lifetime, I enjoy singing, but I happen to be connected with so many singer-songwriters over the last 30 years that they have shown up at my gatherings, kind of like with Muji. You know, there's like a symphony of song and sound and celebration around Muji, and that's been everywhere I've gone. It's been that way. And I think that's the repurposing, because I was a shy guy who's now speaking for Jesus. And sometimes people end up singing for Jesus and being joyful for Jesus. And it's so soothing, it's so healing to allow your skills and abilities to be used, magnified by the Holy Spirit, magnified by Jesus. And then everything else gets taken care of. So initially, the question usually comes from the personal, like, well, I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, I have a partner, I'm here in Florida, da-da-da-da. That's the personal realm. And then we read one line, the miracle abolishes the need for lower order concerns. And slowly we start to see how expansive that is. Like, you mean the miracle will take care of me and take care of my spiritual awakening? And I just have to be transparent and open and honest, and then everything will be shown to me. I don't have to like figure out what the cards are. They will be openly laid out in front of me. And one time I made the comment, like I said, if there was an encyclopedia of spiritual awakening, practical spiritual awakening, I said that Francis, her picture and name could be beside it. And people have said, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And I said, well, you know, Francis was raised as an atheist in Beijing. She was raised that the world's about money, upward mobility, control, possessions, look out for number one, be strong personally, be responsible, look out for your family. Sound familiar? Most of us know that one. And then at some point, after over 10 years of education, after working as an accountant, after having her own business and succeeded, as the world says, had not just one house, but 2 houses, had a husband, had everything, ding, ding. She hit all the bells of what you're supposed to go for in the world for success. I don't think I ever hit those bells. I never really like had my own house, or even the cars were like given to me as like loaners, and I never had any money in my bank account. And then I found myself out traveling on the road for 5.5 and 6 weeks, not knowing where I was going to sleep or where I was going to get my next food or where my transportation would come from. But no, Francis, ding, 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 she rang all the bells. And then at the height of success, at the height of the ego, you've done very well, Francis, you've succeeded, very good, you followed then she chucked it all. She gave it all up for Jesus. She went in reverse direction, and not by her own doing. She just would pray and talk authentically with her husband, Tim, talk authentically with her mother. Even when we were in Beijing and we're doing all these gatherings, her mom's calling her on the phone and saying, Francis, this is your mother. I want to have dinner with you, and I'd like to meet David, and this and this. And Francis is looking, well, no, we're booked. We're booked for the weeks to come. Nope, there's no time, Mom. Now you got it. That has to be the spirit coming through, because who says that to Mom when you come back to Beijing after you've been away for years? That was the spirit. But eventually, she did have lunch with her mother. The spirit, Jesus is so generous, worked in a nice lunch with Mom. And then Mom went into, after that, mystical experiences and was more contacting Francis. What do? I can't explain these experiences to my friends. Francis is like, yeah, I know. That was for you. But you can see how powerful it is, but it's very impersonal. It's not kind of trying to figure the pieces out in terms of, like you were saying, even the nuclear family. I adored my nuclear family, and then Jesus said, come on, we're going traveling. And then when I started traveling, I'm sure you know, as you've done singing, you go where the concert is, or wherever, you just go. That's what I was doing, pulling me out of my ego comfort zones, pulling me, building trust, building faith, building communication skills, building willingness to be used. And then I would say, yeah, Jesus, that's good, but I still miss my grandmother, and I still miss my sister, and I still miss my family. And he'd say, yeah, you've just started with me. Just keep at it. And there'll come a point where that missing feeling, that feeling of I'm missing something, will disappear. You'll be filled up. Your cup will overflow in joy, and then you won't feel that. So you're just it's kind of an exciting point, because you definitely have prayed the prayer, and you definitely are getting the signs and symbols that some kind of reconfiguration is coming, and you're just building the faith to step through it, like Francis did. Francis didn't have some kind of a future blueprint for her spiritual journey. She just, and even people will say, well, wait a minute, though, you left your husband, you left your business, you left 2 different countries behind. You left your original language, your cultural language behind. How did you do it? And she said, well, I didn't see it as leaving behind. I was simply listening and following moment by moment. And it wasn't such a big letting go that everybody else was projecting onto her. It was more, she was outgrowing things that no longer served, concepts. And I think that's the big key right there. There's no sacrifice when a child outgrows a toy, with your 2.5-year-old, if she's playing with a toy and then suddenly she loses complete interest, she may just throw it and leave it in the hall. And she's not going to sit down with you and have a discussion about that toy. She's just not going to touch it. that toy is out of there. It's just not in the repertory anymore. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Well, I see Portia has her hand up.
Hi, thank you for calling on me. It's nice to see you guys again. Stefania, that's such a beautiful name, and what a beautiful woman. Brought her comments just now, and what you were talking about brought up something that's been on my mind. And in fact, I'm understanding why I joined this weekend the topic of defenselessness. Last weekend, I came home from being called very clearly by Spirit to go help my sister, who I didn't even know needed me. She had broken her arm, and I didn't know, but God told me. I went out. And it seems like it was because I needed an encounter with her towards the end of the week. And then I had an encounter with another sister towards the end of that week. And then I had another encounter with my husband when I got home the day after. All three of those encounters seemingly witnessing me saying no and giving an objection to a request to be codependent because they wanted me to be codependent with this other situation. I can't give you all the parameters, but that's how I interpret it, that I was being asked to caretake in situations which I saw were results of drug abuse, that I felt no come very clearly. And then in the encounters when I would, in attempting to explain myself, I had witnesses of intense rage from my husband that I have never seen so intensely. In the midst of his and my sister's, I went numb. And then it just felt like I was outside of time and space witnessing this thing happening. And, you know, I want to use my companions to wake up. But it feels like when I get to the space of detaching from ego, that I'm being cruel, that I'm not getting in and trying to help them see how I see it. And David, I've been with you a couple of times where I have felt such a calm. Like when I drove you in Svava a couple of weeks ago, I was so content, but I wasn't filled with like a burning. When I'm in deep meditation, you know how you can get that huge feeling of such love and beauty. I just felt a complete lack of distraction, like a total harmony. But it doesn't feel like when I got to the kind of numb spot with being yelled at, I couldn't get to that next spot. So I guess my question becomes, when I witness this kind of interaction in the people I'm to deal with, how do I distinguish what does it feel like when you're saying no? What does it feel like if it doesn't feel like that rapture and it doesn't feel like that calm content either? It just feels like you know that this is a no. And then you get yelled at. And then you go, I just had a shutdown, but it didn't feel like the old dead asleep Portia shutting down. It felt like just a detachment, almost like when Brenda was yelling and when my husband was yelling, it felt like I was like not in the room, even like I was like time was stopping and they were getting kind of slow motion-y. So these are the things that I don't want to run away. Usually I just run away, avoid, pretend it didn't happen. But I really want to master being, I didn't feel crucified, but I would like that state of mastery to face whatever's coming up in the ego in the way that will help both of us rise. And I feel so incapable of that. After all these years, I feel so unsure, incapable. And then it seems like the only relief ends up being the next time I get into meditation. And I am given to read, like at 3 a.m., I was given to read, "When I am healed, I am not healed alone," just like Francis said an hour ago. So I'm given things to read, and then I feel a return of that warmth and content and trust. But it's so difficult to feel it and be of use to spirit in the moment thereof. So that's my, that's what I'd love to hear you talk about.
Beautiful, Portia. That's a beautiful question for everyone. Well, you know, there's a point in the text of A Course in Miracles where Jesus says, if someone makes an outrageous request of you, do it. And then he goes on 100 pages later to say, he qualifies it. He says, if someone makes an outrageous request of you, I've told you to do it. But as long as it does not bring harm to you or another, that's his qualification. But he does say in there that if someone makes an outrageous request, he says, the reason that you do it is to show that the form, the behavior is not important. It's the love that is important. That's where the do it comes in. He says, if you say no to the outrageous request and you experience a sudden resistance that appears in the encounter, that is coming from your own investment in thinking you know something. Like when you were saying, I don't want to be codependent, you know, or those kind of things, you know, there has to be an I know belief in there that causes that huge resistance to arise. So you make your firm no, and then wham, your husband and your sisters, you know, they came up with that. And let's go back to what we talked about, Francis. We were talking about the story of Split the Losses with this friend who forgot to organize an entire retreat, and then wanted to split the losses. He didn't seem to think at all. He was responsible for the losses. He just wanted to, okay, it was my mistake, but let's split the losses, you know. That's not a common thing in business, you know. That would, if you were doing a business deal and somebody said, let's just split the losses, you know, it's like, what planet are you from? But when I went over there, and I went over there with such joy, it was to, again, in that situation, if somebody's making an outrageous request, I could just sit there in all the joy and happiness and look right into his eyes and finally say, well, what number are you comfortable with? And then totally accept whatever number he gave, because I was aware that it wasn't my money. This was Jesus. Somehow everything that involves money is always Jesus. He's not only the realtor, he's the banker behind every encounter. He's the wisdom behind it. He's the matchmaker behind every relationship. He's behind it all, and he is smiling. Oh, is Jesus always smiling? He's never frowning. He's not in doubt. So the confidence, the faith that comes is if we experience a sudden sense of resistance to what we're sharing, then that is showing us that we have some kind of ego investment. And that's what you want. You've been praying to have the ego investments brought up so you can let them go. You're asking for that. That's why Brenda's there. That's why your husband's there. That's why your sister's there. Is Jesus is orchestrating everything to free your mind, like Morpheus told Neo in the Matrix. I'm here to free your mind. That's what Jesus is doing. So the thing about it is we have to have faith to do this. In other words, it takes faith to just say, tell me the number that you are happy with, because you have to have faith in finances. And you have to ultimately have faith that the finances are under Jesus's control, that the finances are lower order concerns, that the relationship issues between you and your sisters or you and your husband, those are still lower order concerns because you're the Christ and he's doing everything to help you remember your true identity. and that's important. That's a higher order concern. And the rest is just part of an orchestration where we just are starting to witness where we still have an investment. We still have an investment. The thing I think you could have done in that moment with your husband or with your sisters is when something is asked of you, you offer the fullness of all of God's love in your heart at that moment. Even when people have asked things for me of the future, I just smile and look them right in the eye and go, I love you now. And I let it all pour out right now. Because right now this is our moment. None of us is guaranteed a future. Imagine you agreeing to some caretaker role for the future and then dying, your body dying. Well, that would look kind of silly. They'd be like, oh, wow. I was counting on 15 years of caretaking from Portia, and she's gone. You see, none of us is guaranteed a future. In fact, our next monthly retreat next month, just to give you what it is I place the future in the hands of God. And that's the answer for you with your husband and with your sisters, is I place the future in the hands of God. And Jesus says, when you honestly, sincerely place the future in the hands of God, you also place the past in the hands of God. Whoa, there goes drug addiction. There goes, all the reasons that you were like, really, I'm going to say no, and I'm right about this. Jesus is like, no, don't. You give that to me too. You give drug addiction. You give those memories and scenarios to me, and you give your future to me, because I want you to be happy, and I don't want you to feel locked into caretaking procedures or playing a role and trying to please others. He said, why don't you be happy and stay with me instead of trying to believe you have to please others and use your future just to please others, you see? So this is deep stuff. This is why you signed up, is because you're just ready to hear this now, and you're ready to hear again how much Jesus is there with you and loves you, and you have such a deep connection with Spirit. And this is just saying, great, just keep going deeper into that deep mystical union. And Jesus is saying, let me handle your husband, let me handle those sisters. Please let me do it. I know how to do it, but you personally don't. You're too caught up in the quicksand of the past. So thank you so much. That was for everyone. Your question was for everyone, for sure. Okay, well, we've got a row. Who do you feel, Francis? It's time for me to take a bathroom break, so I'm going to give you the next one.
Okay.
I'm handing over my lower order needs to Jesus, and he's saying, "Oh, it's Francis now."
Yeah, okay. Take care of that. Well, I will just go with the flow. Here is Elisa.
So I was a little upset because I don't know. I was like, I'm not gonna share the peaches and cream, I'm gonna share the dark side or something. But it's how I'm feeling, it's I'm just tired. I'm fed up with this situation that I seem to live in. I am tired of lack and scarcity. I am tired of feeling to have to work every day to get a miserable or very low salary at the end of the month to cover my so-called expenses. I'm tired of it. And I'm like praying. I sent my prayer a little late. Just during this weekend, which was my birthday and everything, and I was expecting it to be great. I was expecting lots of miracles. I didn't feel like I got lots of miracles. I don't even know. Okay, I just didn't feel like I experienced lots of that. I just felt, I don't know, down. Like I just felt disappointed or like abandoned. Like I prayed and then Jesus like just looking at me and not doing anything or something. Okay, that's how I felt. And so I didn't even have time to go inwards and connect with my intention for this retreat. So I sent it in today, right when the retreat started. I just sent it. I couldn't do it before. I haven't even had much sleep these days. So Linda told me that they probably wouldn't be able to send you that prayer because the session had already started. So she said to me, raise your hand and read it. But I didn't have the text, so she sent it to me. So is it okay if I read it?
Yes.
Okay. So it says, please allow me to live in abundance. Please, I want to leave all scarcity behind for good. Please help me. Please listen to my prayer and grant me this desperate desire of my heart. Don't leave me alone, please. I want to live in abundance forever and to know the power of my mind. Please help me to live in abundance in all ways, including material, big letters, uppercase, without me having to worry or having to work or anything. Is this possible? Uppercase. Is this possible? I want to know that nothing is impossible and that this, my desire, is very, very possible. Please be with me, help me, and grant me this wish or desire of my heart. Amen. That was a prayer. And, I was thinking while I was listening to you, I remember that I asked Jesus once for a car. I don't have one. I never had one. And I was thinking that I would love to have a BMW, that's the name. And I'm like, come on, what's wrong with having a BMW? Do you think that's gonna harm me? Why don't you just give it to me? I have no idea how to finance it. I mean, I supposedly, based on my salary, I wouldn't be able to. I already pay a rent. But I don't want to think like that because it feels so limited. And I'm like, come on, why don't you just show me that you are there, that it's okay to have a nice car? Because I am afraid that it's like, no, you're not to have a nice car, a luxury car. You're okay with just taking a cab or no, I want to know that God wants to give me everything, not only the joy in my heart, but everything. And for some reason, when I hear you speak or someone from the community, I just feel that, no, the most important thing is the joy. I know, but it's important, but what about the rest? And I'm just saying this because I'm not seeing it. I mean, the car is not in my driveway, okay? I wish it was, like really, and I wish I had lots of money to cover everything and I could do so many things with the money, so many things. And that includes giving it to whoever needs it. And I wish no one had the need. Like when I see a person who is wealthy, I'm like, great, that's how it's supposed to be. Great, you don't have to worry about where you're gonna live or eat because you are financially free. I want to be financially free. I don't want to have to worry to work. Oh my God, I don't want to work, but if I don't work, oh my God, what is gonna happen with me? I'm fed up, and I wish something would happen. Like, let's say, I get inspired to write a beautiful book that is actually helpful, really helpful to people, so they can wake up from this nightmare. And it becomes a bestseller, let's say it does. And then I have a lot of money without having to do something that I don't want to do or that I don't enjoy doing. And that's like, oh, that'd be great, you know? Or what about winning the lottery? You know, it'd be great. I don't have to worry about doing whatever for money. I wouldn't have to be a slave anymore, because I feel like a slave to this company, and for such a nothing, you know. It's, I'm very, I guess, you know, I'm just trying to be honest with how I feel, and I feel sad and frustrated, and I'm like, are you there? You know? And I wish, I really, really wish that you give me an answer that fulfills my heart, because if you don't, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm like, do I really have to follow this path? Because I really feel this desperateness in my heart. I feel this desire, like, please, this has to be true. I mean, this my dream has to be possible, 1000%.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's making sense to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it does make sense. And thank you for sharing so transparently. And I feel like this is why this retreat is called Abundance in Miracles, because that is our inheritance. We are here to feel abundant, to feel that there isn't a limit. What you're saying is, I want a lot of money so that I can do everything I want. And I feel that's really a translation of that prayer is, I want to have my heart's desire so fully met that there is nothing that will be unmet for me to feel fulfilled. So hopefully, like, money will not be a limitation. There is no limitation. And that is, I think that is a just prayer, and that's what you're entitled to. And I do feel that that's the same prayer as God's prayer for us, that every single true desire of our heart be fulfilled. The only difference is the difference of the orders, because we feel like we have to get the money first as a means, then we can be free. And God is like, what about I give you everything first? Bypassing the money. I give you everything first. I give you the connection. I give you the relationship. I give you the fun that you think the money can buy you. I give you the freedom and the relaxation, and do only what you want without anything. What about that? Then money becomes truly a lower order decision, even in our own mind, because you realized, with or without the means of that intermediary step, this is fulfilled. And I feel like that's really my journey, because I had this same kind of prayer. Like, I wanted to make sure my job pays enough so that I could one day relax, travel around the world, meeting the people without any sense of agenda, just to be with them and have a very, very deep connection. That's really what I wanted money for. And then God take over by bypassing this whole intermediary step and 20 years of working, say, oh, you don't need that. Let's travel right now. Let's meet the people right now with my guidance in a different, under my instruction. And I feel that's really what He's planned for every single one of us, for us to really receive God's gift. We want to start to loosen up from what has to come first and second. Even Jesus said miracles are natural, but its effect may not be immediately perceived. Its effect may not be immediately perceived because the perception is so limiting for us. So that's where the trust comes in. That's where we started to say, okay, God, then work with me. You know, I'm not going to be jumping as watching over your shoulder. Did you deliver? Did you deliver? You didn't deliver. You didn't deliver. But I'm going to, give you a little bit. I'm just going to really reinforce my prayer here, which is the desire. We're praying all day long, But what we're praying for all day long is what we want to pay attention to. So, okay, I want to pray for miracles, abundance. I want to be serving you. And I feel God is already using you, because yesterday I was watching your Q&A. You said it was your birthday, March 4th. And then I remember, oh my God, that's my mom's birthday. And then you said, oh, I just want miracles. I want to pray for miracles. So I thought, oh, what a beautiful prayer. Let me pray for Lisa and my mother. Miracles. That was Spirit talking through your mouth, giving me prompts for what I can pray in that moment. And miracles is sometimes beyond your own perception, but I was filled with love by that reminder. So it's like, yeah, even when I'm talking right now, I just like, you have no idea how God has been using you and will be using you as this deliverance of light. And then we will be filled up. We will be filled up. We just want to trust, really trust, really trust. So yeah, thank you so much.
That's so beautiful, Lisa. I remember when I was in psychology many years ago, I was looking for meaning and joy and everything. And back in the 1980s, I was in university, and I found this psychologist called Abraham Maslow, and he made a very famous hierarchy of needs and a pyramid. And he had the basic needs, and then slowly you meet emotional needs, and then you meet higher order needs. And then at the top of the pyramid was self-actualization. So he decided to study all the dead and living people throughout history that he felt were self-actualizing, that had realized the highest part of the pyramid. And one of the characteristics that he found of self-actualizing people, he called them the being needs, was they had this experience that the means and the end were together, that were the same. He was teaching cause and effect like Jesus teaches it in the Course. Cause and effect are together, not apart. So the means and the end are the same. But the ego tells us the means are different from the end. The means come before the end, you see? And when we get into that mindset of the means come before the end, we've already fallen into the ego. Then we get upset with God. Like, hey, you have not delivered the means. I want that BMW and I want it now. You know, that's kind of what you're saying. And the BMW is part of the means. Like, oh, then I can drive all around Lima and go visit my friends in style and the BMW and everything. But basically, means and ends are together. So he was teaching us this is the reality of things. Means and ends are together. That means that when the artist is painting the painting, they're in the joy of the moment, and they don't care about what comes from it. In other words, they're not really concerned about the painting or how the painting will look or whether the painting will sell for $500 or, you know, that's all the future. If the painter is painting as a job or a vocation, then the means and ends are split and the means come first, you see? So I think that's what you're really praying for, is you're praying to be shown that the means are given you now, that they're not being withheld from you, that they're actually there. That's what you want. That's what you're praying for. So thank you. We've got a whole row of people here, but that's for everybody. That was for everyone. Yeah. Also, I think with that question too, that we just heard, I noticed, Bhavna, you have your hand up too, and Bhavna, I read your prayer, and in your prayer, at the end of your prayer, you wrote, as a person, I'm fighting for limited resources in a world of scarcity. So that there was one little line in there, and then the whole rest of it is the prayer for God. My prayer is to perceive through the eyes of love and see a miraculous world. I conceptually know I have a perceptual problem, but I had no interest in changing it at all till now. I thought exposing the ego was enough for healing, but I'm becoming interested in changing my perception to not see error in people and situations. Wow. So you gave the highest prayer to not see error, and then at the end you said, as a person, I'm fighting for limited resources in a world of scarcity. So I think your prayer is kind of also an answer to Elisa, because when we pray for the higher order need, which is to connect with God, we're praying for everything. And then the other part, a person fighting for limited resources in a world of scarcity, that starts to fade into the background, and it fades and fades away. So thank you, Bob. And we'd love to hear what you've got for us right now. That was just your prayer to start with.
Yeah, thank you, David. Actually, what came up for me was a very strong thing for me to look at that was blocking my moving into this prayer, like the fulfillment of it. And it's been coming up for me for the past month, or a little over a month, is well, two things, but I think they're both sides of the same coin, which is specialness and rejection. So I have a strong desire for specialness, and that's blocking me from the experience of oneness and this shifted perception through the Holy Spirit's eyes. And I'm seeing the extent of it in various situations where I expected to be special or like the favorite, because I think I'm like this powerless person that needs to push past everyone to the front of the line and like somehow gain like this VIP status, you know, in order to gain power, because I think I have no power. And in pretty much all life situations, I'm seeing that my ego goal has been to be special and to get special treatment. And when I don't, oftentimes I seem to be getting that because I've put that as my idol, you know, not God, but those things like fame and fortune and status and praise and stuff like that. And when I seem to get it, you know, the ego gets kind of inflated for a little while, and then you know, it needs more and more and more. And then when I don't get it, you know, even in a little bit, I have this hairline trigger, like I feel so rejected, you know, and the rejection thing happens more often than the specialness being fulfilled. So I end up having like this temper tantrum, this ego's throwing a temper tantrum inside my mind. And it's like even when I do receive a lot of love, you know, from someone, from anyone, it's like on the one side of the mind, it's like that part is being healed, you know, it feels like soothed and nurtured. But the ego side is trying to grab onto that and actually exploit that love. And I noticed that I have this tendency to want to act like a spoiled child, you know, like somehow exploit it and all this like bad behavior and like pushing things to the limit. Like, let me see how much I can push this person, you know, because they're loving me so much. Like, how could they possibly reject me? And that reminds me of like, I think the prodigal son, where it's like God is showing all this love and the prodigal son is like, screw this, I'm going to destroy myself, you know, like it's something, there's some feeling in that. So I'm looking at these feelings of strongly wanting to be special in any situation where there's like a teacher or someone in power, you know, like even David, in your case, if you are in the teacher role, I'm like, I want to be the favorite. You know, if anyone gets in my way, then the ego's throwing this temper tantrum inside of me, and I feel like that rejection. And it's it's even with Jesus. I'm like, I want to be your favorite. And Jesus is teaching oneness, and I'm like, I want to be your favorite. I want to be special with you, you know, and I'm turning it into a special relationship. And he's like, that's not what I'm teaching. And with God, and even in the mystery school, I told Lisa, like, if this is a mystery school, if this is a school, then I want to be the valedictorian. I'm going to claw my way to the top, you know. And she's like, Vavna, there is no top, it's flat. And so, yeah, like, and I feel a lot of like judgment in the mind. And when that happens with rejection, I become very serious. You know, this whole specialness topic is very serious business for this ego. And when I saw the movie yesterday, it was like, this guy wasn't seeking fame or fortune or status or praise or anything. He was only seeking, his mind was on the innocence the whole time. Like, in other words, like he was seeking God the whole time, and everything was just coming to him, you know. And like even like Forrest Gump and this other movie, I think it's Being There, like the same thing happens, right? These people, like, they don't seek anything, they're just in their innocence, and everything, like, they end up being far more in the world than they ever could have imagined. And meanwhile, the other people who are seeking that, like the ego seeking fame and seeking fortune and specialness, you know, even when I get that, it's not fulfilling. It's like an addiction, and it's not enough, you know. So this has really been coming up for me, the specialness, the rejection, everything that is in my way for altering my perception. And so I think that's what I'm putting on the altar, is my insatiable desire to be special with everyone, especially people in positions of power, and the rejection that comes with it, and seeking all these things in the world. I want to keep my focus on God and let everything else fall into place. So that's what I wanted to share.
Oh, thank you, Bhavna. Yeah, you just hit the nail on the head. That's the core of the teachings of the Course, is the undoing of specialness. And you're right, the exposure of it is just the first part. Then there's has to be a surrender, even deeper, to merge with all that is, all that's real and true. And it's beautiful because I think Elle brought it up at the beginning of our retreat, saying, well, my son's traveling in Europe, and he's going to a museum, and he loves it, and he's so happy, and I want to be happy for him, but I'm trying to loosen from the roles. And I was saying, well, just be willing to include everyone else in, because that's the undoing of specialness, is when we start to open our heart up to be used by Spirit for everyone and everything without an agenda on that. And the opposite, of course, is the ego has already set its targets. You know, it wants to be like certain people or be close to certain people. And, you know, with like the mystery school, yeah, I want to be the valedictorian. I want to be a part of this retreat. I want to be right there. I want to be sitting up in the front, by the side, and serving in devotional, because there's a part of our mind that even believes that if one person serves another person, that will bring glory and happiness. And it's not really a personal thing. It's more of a universal thing. You know, like that prayer of St. Francis, Lord, make me an instrument for your peace, where he just let go of how his life was going to look, and then just was ready to ride the wave, get the surfboard out and ride the big wave, and not knowing for sure what that would look like in form. So I feel your love and your devotion, and I feel that the underlying prayer is there, and then your sincerity is starting to flush up the specialness, in to the full extent. And that actually is very helpful, because the only way we ever let it go is we have to let it be flushed into awareness to the full extent and face the things that we're drawn to through this trickster of the ego. And you're doing that. I think you're authentically taking those steps because of that prayer underneath. It's bringing the rest up. And every question we've had today and all weekend is really around what you're talking about. You're just getting down to like the core of it, the specialness. Whereas Jesus is teaching all my brothers are special. So he's just always inclusive with everything. And he's just our way shower that way, because he's drawing us to that light. Yeah. Sweet. So thank you. Thank you. We're with you.
Thank you. Should we just go one by one?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, Lorraine.
Hi, David. Hi, Francis.
Hi.
Hi.
So these intense, really amazing questions. Mine is more a practical question about the metaphysics, because my past, paths have been more contemplative meditation and sitting in silence and observing the mind. So now, being kind of new to the course, observing, that we have this choice of the ego thoughts and the ego mind or the divine. And, I see how my mind can, take on all of a sudden the perceptions that the ego is creating, or I've had a few mystical experiences where it's opened up and all I'm experiencing is the love. And I don't know if I have to analyze it, but that's kind of where I've come from. So to understand like this place in the middle of the observer, is it that, that there's this observer, there's this awareness that then has this choice of the thought system to adopt instead of the split, being in that split mind. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a common thing that many spiritual seekers fall into, where it turns from a choice between two things, and then you have the third aspect, the awareness. And even in Course in Miracles circles, like Ken Wapnick used to call the third part Charlie the Chooser. He called it Charlie, and some people call it awareness. But when you get back deep enough into the Course, you actually find that when you get back to rules for decision, which is quite late in the Course, Jesus basically is saying that the right-minded perception is a choice, and wrong-minded perception is a choice. And he doesn't ever talk about the third. He says, right now, in this present moment, there's one choice or the other, but there's not an aspect of your mind that is neither. In fact, oneness is so blocked from awareness that this, we'll call it the mesmerism or the hypnotism or the sleep is so deep that the experience of perfect oneness, which he calls the kingdom of heaven, is completely out of awareness. And so he's trying to simplify it for us by saying, you can either be with me or you can try to be against me. With me is right-minded. When you're in your right mind, you're in where the Holy Spirit lives, where I live. You're with us in this moment. You've made a choice for us. Choose us. Choose the light. Choose the alignment. And this other thing seems to be an option. So it's presented in the Course as you have to discern between these two purposes, these two choices and everything. But as I work with students over many years, I said, you realize that's just a metaphor. He's describing the sleeping mind as if it has two parts. You see, and he puts as if in italics in the clarification of terms. When Jesus italicized something as if, he's saying it's just a metaphor. And ultimately, you need to focus on choosing. He says, choose with me. The prayer of the heart is, Holy Spirit, decide for God, for me. What a prayer. Holy Spirit, decide for God, for me. That's not analytical. Once you start to get into the three parts of the mind, Jesus never really is doing that. He actually emphasizes this in the manual for teachers too, where they say, how is healing accomplished? And then he goes on to say specifically how healing is accomplished. But his big aha in that section, how is healing accomplished, is that you have to come to the recognition that the mind and not the body is the decision maker. So he's not making a distinction between awareness and right mind, wrong mind, or like Buddha, the middle way. He's basically saying, if you believe that your body, your personhood is a decision maker that makes decisions, that Lorraine makes decisions, and everyone else does too on the planet. Lorraine and those other 7 billion people all are deciding every day. He's saying that's not healing. But once you come back and you realize I have a decision to make in my mind, which is a decision of purpose, which is a decision of alignment, then you make a decision and you are healed. You see how different that is, but see how deep that is, because we've been mesmerized to project our decision out onto people. It's almost like when we were kids, they bought us presents, little G.I. Joes, and my sister had a Barbie doll, and then Ken, and then she would get together with a little Barbie doll house, and then, oh, Ken, go mow the grass. Okay, Barbie, you make the muffins. I'll have the muffins when I come in from dinner, And you see, even with children, it's projected that these are real characters, and they're talking to each other, and they're playing house, and then what we experience in the world as we grow up is the same thing. Who's playing the mommy? Who's playing the daddy? Who's making the money? Who's going to cook the meal? Who's going to do the dishes? And these all seem to be like personal decisions, but really wrong-mindedness peoples the world and distracts us from making the choice in mind that will set us free. And that's the atonement. Or that's like Morpheus telling Neo, I'm here to set you free. I'm here to free your mind, is basically, you're the one. I know you're the one, and I'm here to set you free, to realize that you're the one. So thank you. I love it when we have these deep metaphysical questions, because I think it's easy to get bogged down into different and analytical views of spirituality. And then people start arguing and debating. And the proof's in the pudding. If you're joyful, if you're happy, well, there you've got your evidence. That's when you really come into a state of realization, a sense of recognition, when you're joyful, peaceful, happy. And that's really what is underneath your question, is just, that's the prayer of your heart. You just want to have this simple recognition and feel peace. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Peter.
No, so nice to see you all. And so longing for this moment. I feel so eager. David. I really feel no more patience. I agree totally with Lisa that there is a moment in time and space in your awareness that you absolutely have no more patience with these things not happening. They sort of must happen. And to me, there's a promise in the Course. It says, you have wishes. They will be fulfilled. They can be fulfilled in the moment. Stay in the moment, and they will fulfilled. And time and space has nothing to do with that. It will just happen, because nothing here on earth is really determining, you know what I mean? Is deciding what happens. Nothing. It seems so. That seems so real. I've had such a period in really looking at things and wondering, whoa, but that is real. That is real. But theoretically knowing that it's not real, but that knowing comes from just my surrender to the Course. My believing that every point, comma, every letter in that book is entirely true. I don't know how, but when I started this journey, I thought, well, I'm sort of a know-all person. Always was, always thinking for other people, always on that track. So now it's sort of falling back and realizing, well, that mind of mine might work all right. But that is not going to do the job. And somewhere I read, well, that final job will not be done by person. It will be given to you. You will receive it as a huge present. And talking about a present, David, I feel very strongly that this is the moment to say the prayer, which is actually in the first place directed to you, and not leaving other people as being a lesser kind. No, just having David to be like what is that, a front runner? Would that be a word? Yes. All right. I'm starting now. I write love poems. Since short, I was totally surprised. Poems started coming out of the brain, but you're not produced by the brain, not at all. It was so weird, but that was a beautiful surprise that was real, that was possible, that, you know, no more effort, just sit down and react to a sort of question from another place. Well, I was in bed and I heard something like, Peter, get out of your bed, sit up straight and go right down. So this is sort of how this happened. And after that first poem, which was very personal because it was about me as a young kid sitting on the front of the boat and watching sea, and not in what on earth is called reality. No, what I was in what really was reality at that moment, and that poem came up. And that was so nice. I really, maybe that's ego, but I really felt so much gratitude and so much, I could give myself so much recognition, not needed from outside, just myself recognizing myself. The poem is called Together You Are the One. My love is eternal, not comparable with what on earth is called love. My love conquers all. This is really hard to read. It gives so much emotions. Earthly love has many faces, can be treacherous, but certainly can't be reliable. My love loves all, loves everything, loves you all, loves all in creation. My love sees you beautiful as I know you are. My love sees you perfect, certainly can't miss you. Earthly love distinguishes and says, I say yes to you. I say no to you. Says yes to white and no to black. Says no to different and no to inconvenient. How cruel that is. Earthly love is like bookkeeping. Make sure you have enough profit. Make sure you alone win. My love has endless compassion and patience and sees no mistakes, never has, never will. My love feels, senses, and automatically knows what needs to be loved. In my love, you win, I win, all win. Earthly love can be so cruel and will definitely not last. Earthly love always wants, always needs, always craves, always wants to use you, even sometimes abuse you. It doesn't love you as you really are. Realize that, then you're instantly out of suffering. Earthly love does not see you. It doesn't hear you, ignores you, even forgets you sometimes. My love as God, my deepest wish is for my children to come to me, to always stay with me. My love caresses you all, always safe in my strong arms. She rocks you into happy dreams, always knows you in everything you are, ever was, ever will be. Always will be you, my eternal love, love. You are my dearest son, my great, great love, my dearest, always, never not, eternally. My love is timeless love. You all are, you really all are. You are all to me. My love was always in you, around you, with you. She kept you together as one. She kept you longing for me. She is, was, and always will be. I say to you all, forget about future, forget about past. It is only about now. Now, this moment, now. Always now. I am with you. But only in the now. My love, are you, stays you, were you in reality, never not. My love, are you all, together happy, together in love, together, together, together. We are really one. We together, together one. Love and nothing else, pure bliss and joy, peace of mind, quiet, quiet as a silence you've never heard, in happy, in love, in you, in me, together, 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 we holy together, we safe together, we happy together, 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 one, one, one. You are the one. You are all the one. There is no other.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Everyone's everyone's just blissed out now. Well, we love it. We love your beautiful gift of poetry. I'm glad the Spirit has you sit up and write, and you're obedient to follow. I'm thinking of a song. When I look in your face, I think of the song. La, 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 live for today. Hey, la, 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 live for today. And don't worry about tomorrow anyway. And then another song for you, since I have to give you both, from the author of your last poem. This is Back to You, and back to you. My love is warmer than the warmest sunshine, softer than a sigh. My love is deeper than the deepest ocean, wider than the sky. My love is brighter than the brightest star that shines every night above. And there is nothing in this world that can ever change my love.
Oh.
It's a love fest. It's a love fest. Thank you. Thank you so much, Peter. What a gift. What a gift. Beautiful. Oh. Okay, well, we'll roll on here. We have Susanna from Sweden.
Hi.
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 So great to see you guys. I am blown away about everything. David, you have mentioned my prayer a couple of times, and
Yes.
I just wanted to show my gratitude. I am just, yeah, everything. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who's here. I've just been sitting here in silence, mostly with my heart open and just taking it all in. And I'm just, wow, this is my life now. I'm living in the happy dream, and it's just, it's incredible. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Susanna.
And my heart is pounding, so I better expose a fear that I have. I'm halfway through my pregnancy, and I'm keep being reminded that no, you are in your body. Now you have to be responsible for another being for 20 years. And it feels very scary because I have let go of everything else so far. I don't feel any need of any recognition or any material things or anything. Yes, I'm complete, but now I feel that I have to step into a role that I have chosen, and I'm trying to go back to the lesson 152, like it was my decision, and now it's my decision to trust that I belong in this present moment. And if I just use the medium, the prayer, miracles will come. And just trust that the Holy Spirit got me, you know, that I don't have to plan anything. I don't have to know even how I'm supposed to play this role. Yes, that the Holy Spirit will use that role in the best way possible. And I just want to know, is that what this is? Is this how you guys see it? Because, you know, and I see from all of you that you have walked this path, and I want what you have, the joy, you know, I want to follow the joy, the Holy Spirit. So like, yeah, I just want to make sure that this is real. Yeah, so that's my question.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Susanna. Yeah, it's like I mentioned the word Carolyn Mace, and she was always talking about before we seem to come into this world, we kind of agree to certain contracts, like even for Helen Schuckman, She had a contract, to become a psychologist, a research psychologist, and then to meet Bill. And when she first walked into his office for an interview, she heard in her mind, "This is the one that you are to help." So yeah, there it was prearranged. Everything is prearranged. So you going through the pregnancy and what this world calls motherhood is part of a prearranged script. Now your purpose is just to pray with Jesus and the Holy Spirit and let them do it through you. In other words, instead of taking on the role so deeply as a concept of who you are, you're simply praying to the Holy Spirit and you're saying, "Mother through me, mother through me, moment by moment." I'm not going to rely on past books on how to raise a child that Dr. Spock wrote decades ago, or some guru is kind of a parenting guru, and I'm not going to rely on just this parenting guru. I'm going to, moment by moment, join with you in prayer and say, "Love through me, express through me, mother through me," because having a child is a part of the plan of forgiveness and undoing. So it actually will be, as you pray, to be mothered through, for the Spirit to move through you, your mind, and use your body and use your child's body, then it will be an undoing. You will become more clueless. It will be your pathway to God. It will be your teaching, learning assignment that you accepted before you came, before you even arrived on planet Earth. This was already prearranged. So yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful that you are so open too, because when you try to do it based on past learning or past expectations or past opinions, that's where the guilt comes in. But if you just use it intuitively and you use it as part of your guidance, just like somebody may do yoga or somebody may do Ayurveda medicines or may do certain breathing techniques or posture techniques, you're going to use the backdrop of mothering, guided mothering as your pathway to God. And you will, of course, succeed beautifully. So thank you. Thank you for your prayer of the heart, because that's how you realize the power of the mind, through that listen, follow practice.
Okay, Candice.
Hopefully this works better than it did yesterday in the breakout session. It did not work. Is it working?
It's working.
You guys can hear me okay? Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Probably too loud, huh? Okay. So yeah.
Can you turn your microphone down a bit, Candice?
Oh,
could you turn your microphone down a little bit?
Yeah, I got you. I'm trying to figure that out. Just a minute.
Okay.
Okay, it turns you down too. Okay, so Francis, the Casa Rasa song this morning. That just that was a song that as a little girl riding around on the ranch, that was a song I would sing, but I only had the first verse, and I didn't know how to find the rest of the verse, the rest of the song, so I wore out just the first verse. So now I have the rest of the song, and it just fits so beautifully with what some of those who are talking about families and children, and because as many of you know, difficult situation with my mother, and I have no relationship with my children, who she does have a relationship with, so it's been very difficult. But the song is kind of cool. Anyhow, I'm going to read it. So the first verse is, when I was a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be pretty? Will I be rich? And here's what she said to me. Que sera, sera. What will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. What will be, will be. So when I grew up and I fell in love, I asked my sweetheart, what lies ahead? Will we have rainbows day after day? And here's what my sweetheart said. Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. There's no future. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera, what will be, will be. And the last verse is, now I have children of my own. They ask their mother, what will I be? Will I be handsome? Will I be rich? And I tell them, tenderly. And the verse, I'm not going to read it again, but anyhow, it's just, yeah. It's just, a song that has come back to me over the years, and I'm really glad to have the rest of it. Anyway, thank you. And then there's another song that yesterday, during the break, I was wandering around listening to, and it's a song by Stephanie Gretzinger, No Fear in Love. And it is an absolutely beautiful song that I just wander around the house singing sometimes. And anyway, I think it's a beautiful song some of us can reach out and listen to and just really help a lot. So right now, I was in Camas for 6 months, March till August last summer, and that was a real crazy ride, but and I miss it. I miss it a lot. I miss the music, and Zach said something about the music last weekend, and the music was definitely a joy. But now, since I'm back in Grand Junction, Colorado, I'm with a lovely lady who broke her femur. She's 80, and in a live-in caregiving situation. And the first week with her, Halloween night, I slipped on the bathroom floor and popped my left hip out of joint. Hurt like hell, but I didn't go to the emergency room because she hasn't had her COVID shot. I had 2 COVID shots. To me, it was just that it was already starting up, and I just didn't want to bring it back into the house. I didn't want to give up on this situation. So I had my dad bring a little portable wheelchair we have, and I used it as a dumbwaiter, and I used it to get myself around because I could kind of take the weight off of my feet. So I'm running around with my dumbwaiter all over the house. And now I'm at a place where I can walk really well, but I still have to have hip surgery. But I have to have dental work done first, so I have a second root canal tomorrow, and then hopefully in 3 months I can have the hip surgery. And it's just been one of these, since I've been here, dealing with her and her frustration because she can't just get up and walk like she's used to doing, and she sees me cruising around on that goofy wheelchair and stuff the way I was, and anyway, it's just, I've just tried to keep, and you guys were talking about the sense of humor. We've got to keep the laughter and things, and that is so true and so vital. So I've really tried to allow that to come through in this situation. And she's been so gracious. Candace, you have a place to be as long as you need to be with me. And she says, I probably only want you to leave because I enjoy having you here, and I want to have you here. So it's like, oh, that's cool. I really appreciate that. And so anyhow, we'll just see how it goes. We're just going with the flow. But I do find myself kind of falling into a pity party once in a while, and because she's in a deep depression, and I don't want to be there. I don't want to go there into that depressed state again anymore. And so anyway, I'm just listening to a lot of beautiful music, and the music just so helps me keep going. And I listen to all of these again on Spreaker and just enjoy them. And I appreciate you guys ever so much, and I thank you.
Thank you, Candace. Yeah, I think you should go to YouTube and get a Doris Day copy of Que Sera, Sera, and just put that on repeat. There you go, and just enjoy it, because it's such a beautiful song, and Doris Day had such a beautiful voice, and my mother used to sing that to me, so I've had that song running through my mind for years and years, decades. And then Frances, with this retreat, she started hearing the song, and here we are having a happy holy encounter around Casa Rasa. So thank you. We're with you. We're with you. Beautiful. So it looks like we have Living Miracles Monastery.
Anna.
Yeah.
Hi.
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 I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for this beautiful stay. And what I witness and what I see is so much beauty. I see beauty. And it feels maybe like I'm piece by piece going out of this tiny place. And yeah, and there is so much support from everyone around me. So thank you, and I'm very glad to have met you, David, a short moment.
Oh, wonderful.
It brings me closer to you and to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you. What a blessing. What a blessing. And then we can shift down to Mexico, Tabula Rasa Mystery School, La Casa de Milagros. We've talked about La Casa, La Casa parables. And here we are still seeing the witnesses.
Hi, David.
Hola.
Hola.
I know one word. It's so beautiful to be here, and I just love being with you all the time. You know, usually it's been from home, and it still feels like home. Yeah, but being here at Mystery School is it's special. You know, it's all wonderful. So, and I thank you for the movie, because it was, as you said, it was going to be perfect, and it was. There was just so much teaching value all the way through. And the line that stuck out to me the most was at the very end, when Lori said to Wallace, said, "You really don't care about money, do you?" And he said, "No." He said, "It isn't real." And so I'd like to just share a quick parable on how the Holy Spirit dismantled me and my attachment to money. I grew up in a home of scarcity, so we didn't have much money. And that's the first thing I noticed, is that we're in lack. And my father didn't really give much real empathy because of alcoholism. So I believed in unworthiness. And I just kind of figured out real quick that if I made a lot of money, it would take care of everything. My dad would approve of me and love me, and I could have the luxuries of the world. So I put money as my idol. That was my master I was serving. So in 2000, the year 2000, I was 39, and it's the first time I asked God for help. And it wasn't for money. I remember it like it was yesterday. I just said, "God, I don't believe in religion, because guilt and fear don't make sense in an all-loving God, but I believe you're there. And if you can help me find a way to be happy, then I'm willing to be shown." And that's all I said. And within a month, I was guided to my first step. And over the next 12 years, I was guided to seminars and people and movies and videos and books and all kinds of things to start the unwinding process. And in 2013, I was all the time I'm in lack. I'm still living in scarcity week to week. And in 2013, I filed bankruptcy. 2010, filed bankruptcy. It was right after the big financial market crash. And my car was repoed. But the Spirit said, don't worry. Holy Spirit said, don't worry, I've got your back. So what happened was my taxes were delinquent. So the house was going to go into foreclosure. I had filed bankruptcy. And the banks were so overwhelmed with foreclosures that they couldn't get to them. You know, the Spirit said, well, your last name begins with Z, so we'll put you at the bottom of the pile. And it took 3 years for the banks to come and act on the foreclosure. So I had a house to live in with no mortgage payment for 3 years. And much of the time I was alone. So I spent my time cleansing and healing and crying. I cried. I mean, and I knew it was for healing. So I just let it all out. And I cried so much. When it was all said and done, I felt like I cried more than I had my whole life. And I was a crybaby growing up. So it was beautiful. Then in 2013, because I hadn't had a relationship with Jesus, you know, due to Catholicism, and you know, I didn't believe in it. Jesus said, okay, now it's time for you to start learning about who I really am. So I picked up the book, The Disappearance. I was guided to that. And I took it with me up north for the holidays. And I'm driving up the freeway after dark on the interstate. There was only one car in front of me. And as I was driving by it, it had a bumper sticker that said, try Jesus. So that was very clear. And I got into I read the book, got into the course. And so then 2014, Jesus said, okay, now I want you to meet somebody. And he guided me to meet a lady on Facebook. And she was beautiful. She had a beautiful spirit. She had symbols on her profile. Be still and know that I am God. Rumi, there's a field, I'll meet you there. And I was just really, you know, taken by her. So we developed quickly a really strong relationship of love. Then, and I shared the course and we started studying together. Then the next year, 2015, the Holy Spirit said, okay, now we have the next step. My brother passed away. And again, all this time I'm still living in lack and money is still my goal. My brother passed away and left us an inheritance, my 2 sisters and I, and it was huge. And it was more money than I'd ever seen or ever had. And I just thought, all my prayers have been answered. I finally made it. I'm finally there. And the Holy Spirit said, well, not quite. And as Paul Harvey said, the great radio host, used to say, and now for the rest of the story. So moving forward, the lady that I, you know, had a relationship was living in lack, low income, and the Holy Spirit guided her to start asking me for money. Of course, I was excited. I had shared with her what happened. And so she started asking for money in large amounts for purposes for her family. And I just, even though I had resistance, I knew because I cared for her, I was just something that I needed to do. I don't know, I was guided to, but I didn't know why. And it was so painful. It was like a piercing through my heart when she would ask me for money. And I was like, I didn't want to give it away, but I did. And it went on month after month. I felt like Jake in Revolver. And over 5 years, I ended up giving her somewhere around $200,000. And when I look back, it doesn't matter, because what happened along the way was Jesus was sanding down the attachment to money. And the more I gave, the better I felt. And I just somehow inside knew that Spirit had me. And at the end of the 5 years, I said, you know what? She was all full of guilt. And I said, you know what? You don't owe me anything. I said, although it seems like this was for you, it was really for me. I was guided to give this to you to work on my attachment to money. And in the meantime, Jesus was moving me from focusing on money to focusing on God. And through the course, I was really starting to get and learn and realize that money isn't real. People who have hundreds of millions kill themselves because they're not happy. Money isn't the answer. And so I've put my full focus on God, and I kind of just let it go. And ironically, in the meantime, my income from my work started to grow. Last year was the biggest year I've ever had. And the income still grows, but I look at it and it's like, I really, it's okay, but I don't need it for the reasons that I thought I used to. So this brings me to the mystery school. I was guided here 2 years ago. I was guided to my first online retreat, and I fell in love with you and the whole community. And over the last 2 years, the Spirit has softened me up because I had total resistance to listen and follow. I was like, I'll forgive, but I can find my own way. And now, 2 years later, here I am at mystery school asking to be shown. And that's a miracle. And I over the last few days, I've been reading the first chapter of This Moment Is Your Miracle, and it's just filled with miracle ideas in it. And I was always wondering, why is it I can't hear the Spirit? I was so pissed. Like, come on, what's the problem? And I got clarity in your first chapter that judgment and opinions in the I know mind block my peace and block the Spirit's voice. And I just had such clarity, like, wow. So yesterday morning, I woke up and I reread the chapter, and I had such an epiphany, and I just decided in that moment, I had the courage to come here, and I knew I wanted to ask or give myself, but I still had all the fear around it. And I just said, Jesus, you know what, it's time. And I trust that you'll take care of me. That was my prayer for the weekend. Show me that you'll convince me that you'll take care of me if I give my mind to you. And in the morning, I just gave my mind to him and said, I surrender. I'm ready. I don't know what it's going to look like or where I'm going to go, but I surrender. And came out and went to we came into the meditation with Eric, which is the best part of the day. And I was so emotional and charged, I was crying, and I'm thinking to myself, I need to join with somebody. I need to talk to somebody. I'm thinking, all right, I'll talk to Eric. And we were almost done. And I thought, no, maybe I better ask the Spirit what to do. And I listened, and the Spirit said, no, don't do that. So I said, okay, I'll talk to my link. And by the time I walked out, she was walking in, and I asked her if she could join with me in prayer. She said, yes, but I'm going into a meeting right now. So right afterwards, and I said, okay. But then I thought, I just really wish I could talk with someone right now. And I went up and sat down by the pool, and I looked up, and Lisa was walking right straight toward me. And the Holy Spirit arranged time and space. And in that moment, she was there and sat down, and we had the most beautiful joining. So that was one answer from the Holy Spirit. And then, because I asked for symbols and miracles. And, I've been thinking the last few months, in the last couple of days while I've been here, that I've just been thinking that, every miracle, every experience is not only a gift, but it's a step on the stairway. And just before we came in for the movie yesterday, there's music coming from across the wall, and it's Led Zeppelin. And we're walking up the stairway to heaven. And it was just the most beautiful miracle. So I thank you all. Every person here, every retreat I've been on, everyone who's shared, you've all been the most amazing and beautiful images in my mind, and witnesses and symbols of love and trust and faith. And over the 2 years I've been with you, that's what's guided me here. And I'm just grateful for you all. So thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
We're getting serenaded from Spirit, from Casa Rasa all the way to Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. It's coming at us from every angle. That's beautiful. We love you, David. Thank you. Thank you. And there's our mystery school. They've come trusting from around the world, just trusting. Yeah, we love you. Okay, looks like we have a couple more. We have Sabine, and we did read your email today, your message you sent in, Sabine, so we have a little context, but maybe you can just share with everyone what you've been going through there so everybody knows the context.
Hi, David, and hi, Francis. Hi, everyone. I really only wanted to share how grateful I am for this beautiful retreat and that almost all my questions in my heart have been answered with everything. And I think mostly with this joy, with this movie, and with the sharing of your miracles, especially the miracle with Lisa, and you made this travel with her. And it was so touching my heart, and I felt this joy. I only felt joy the whole time. And also with all the sharings from the participants, so many I could relate to, and it was really like Jesus was giving me all the answers through everyone there. And so that the question really disappeared, because there is no question. When I'm in the now and when I'm happy, there is no question. I was only in the wrong movie. I think the ego is the wrong movie. I have to go to the right movie. This is the Holy Spirit. And this movie is the best movie. And through sharing all these miracles, it was really a reminder for me to remind me of my own miracles. I had so many miracles. And it is so funny that sometimes, as soon as the ego takes place so much, that you forget about it. It's gone. So I think I only needed this reminder from all of you to come in this miracle state of mind again. And yeah, that's so precious. And I felt with everyone, and I'm really so grateful. And for all the things. And I was listening to David's YouTube videos a lot, always. And yeah, especially this 5, 6, 7, 8, what you said, the meditations you made, and the 7, it's only the past. I listened really a lot. And suddenly in my mind dawned something in me, said, okay, when it's really all the past, then this body cannot be real. This body is like, yeah, it must be dead somehow. It can only be alive with the mind, because it's all gone. I'm just looking at something what is not there. And then shortly a week ago, I watched this movie, Passengers, with Anne Hathaway. And I thought, yeah, that's it. We are all still dead, but not in I was happy with it. It brought me really in this, oh, that's it? That's it. There is nothing real I'm looking at. Maybe, yeah, it's really I have to remind this myself more and more. So there are coming a lot of things. So, yeah, it's all the past. And yeah, I don't know. And also the sharing, what the reminders from the book that you said at the beginning, all this 11 and 15 or what it was so, oh my God. So this little reminder, so yes, that's it. Yeah, so yeah, I only want to thank you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, really, to have you, to be with you all the time and yeah, all the way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sabine. We love you. We love you so much. You're so in our hearts. And yeah, we stay together, linked in prayer, just linked in prayer. And your realization about focusing on I see only the best, yeah, that's huge. And then the thought of I place the future in the hands of God is a letting go of the past. Because what is the future but a projection of the past? So we can let that go too, and come in humbleness and faith and trust and feel the peace of the moment, and then just let it all just come to us. Let it be shown. That's the way it goes. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for your faith.
Yeah, you're demonstrating how miracle abolish the lower level needs. You wrote in to ask my next step, and you say, what questions? I have no questions. That's the mind shifted. Beautiful. Thank you.
Swept up in the miracle. Very good. Very good. And it looks like we have Dana. So yeah, we enjoyed your sharing there from 2 o'clock in the morning, and now we get you at a different hour, a different hour of light.
Yes, so I sincerely don't know how to express my appreciation, or if there is any word to properly say thank you for such an experience of joy. For me, the meaning of abundant miracle this weekend became an abundance of miracles. There were so many things. I came hoping to get one tiny insight I can work with. And on the first day, I asked if there is a fast track way to mind training. And I got so many miracles and experienced the joy I had not known even that was even possible. And the answer to my question practically was yes, there was possible to get so many bang, bang, bang new insights. So I don't want to take time to share everything, but let me just share one of the miracles. I came with a broken heart over a child who has seemingly excluded me from her life. In fact, 10 years ago, I got a heart attack for which the doctors didn't find any reason. They wrote in my medical journal, the cause of heart attack could be seen as broken heart syndrome, even though if I hadn't told them anything about my story, I was so ashamed of the situation. Something my child had told me that I never had shared with anybody, but I could use as an attack on myself over and over and over again, was that you don't mean anything to me. I could use it as a hammer, as a knife to hurt myself. I had not told anyone about this statement, and I was terribly ashamed of it. It was actually during this retreat I realized she was actually telling me the first lesson of the course. That was even now that I say it, I get goosebumps. You don't mean anything. So she was the angel guiding me to repeating the first lesson, but I was not ready to hear that. So such a major change in perception, I couldn't see, I couldn't believe that was possible. So come with a statement that was in the ego world was an attack to me that could give me actual heart attack, broken heart you mentioned, to actually see it as a statement from the course. So it was in that moment that I almost could see the pieces of my heart coming together in joy and becoming whole again. I really felt different in my heart. So my prayer to God is, please let me be a means through which you send your teachings such that can heal other hearts like the way that mine did. And may everyone on the earth sense the same joy I felt. I haven't seen any parallel to that, and I really wish that for everyone. So thank you for the experience.
Thank you.
Oh.
So precious. Oh, thank you. We feel it. We feel your gratitude, your lightness. Yeah. That's it. The miracle lightens us up where we once had a heavy heart. Yes. Yes. Wow. Wow. So beautiful that we could share this intimate online retreat together. Yeah. And we just really went with that feeling of abundance. It just started, and I talked with Lisa. She could just feel it growing stronger and stronger, because that's like one of her key words in her life. And then, wow, we just beheld the whole thing. So I think Pete has a video to show us. I think they were telling me, what can you do beyond abundance of miracles, abundance in miracles? And I believe the title is, I place the future in the hands of God.
Yes, I place my future in the hands of God. We do have a new video for next month.
If you're doing this work for the whole universe, what did Jesus say in the Bible? Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and what? All things else will be added unto you. That all your needs will be met. Of course, in A Course in Miracles, he's very eloquent, Once you've accepted his plan as the one function that you would fulfill, there will be nothing else the Holy Spirit will not arrange for you without your effort. Oh my God. He'll go before you, making straight your path and leaving in your way no stones to trip on, no obstacles to bar your way. Nothing you need will be denied you. Not one seeming difficulty, but will melt away before you reach it. You need take thought of nothing except the only purpose you would fulfill. Now that's a promise. Talk about lilies of the field. Jesus is like, in case you missed it, my lilies of the field talk 2,000 years ago. Let me give it to you straight.
Oh,
Third time's a charm. That's the third time for that passage. I didn't see that one coming. Jesus is like a 1 and a 2 and a 3. Like he's a conductor. In case we missed it, here it is 3 times over the weekend. Oh.
Wow, beautiful. Yeah, I love it. It's so abundant. We shouldn't expect, anything less than miracles. This is really like a broken heart can be healed just like this. This is such a testimony to end our retreat, and I just feel so grateful, because that is exactly our entitlement. We're entitled to miracles, and let's accept nothing less than that. Let's move forward and move toward, give our future in the hands of God, give are present in the hand of God. Give everything, put everything in the hands of God. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's like embrace everything and expect nothing. So I think, yeah, I was really touched, Elisa, when you were talking, just bearing your soul of what you're feeling and going through, and praying for that abundance, praying for the symbols of abundance to show up and point the way. And when you were sharing, I was coming back from my bathroom break, but I actually heard that, and I remember, you know, when I first came across the Course, I felt this whoosh of love go over me, and then I kind of just immersed myself into it for the first 5 years, using it like an oracle, because, you know, you need guidance and you need specific direction. And sometimes at the time, at the beginning with the Course, I wasn't hearing Jesus's voice directly like that. I was just getting feelings wash over me from time to time, or little nudges. But then I do remember just thinking, I'm going to pray and pop the book open, and then I really would get very direct, specific answers by using the Course as an oracle. And for the first 5 years, it got so deep that I seemed to just go into revelatory experiences of just going directly into the light. But even that was just a preliminary, because it was like saying, no, I really going to take you on the road and start traveling after those 5 years, because I had to really start to disassociate my ideas of abundance from the form. It's kind of like David Zwickly was saying there at the end, where he had known such scarcity in his family for so many years that he automatically thought, I'm not for me, I'm going to overcome this, I'm not going to walk that way. And then he went and he got the inheritance, and then the lesson when he had the money wasn't necessarily to go and spend it on himself, was to give it to this woman that he was in relationship with. But it just shows how we have to be so trusting in this journey. And for me, I think of all the travels that I've had, that really convinced me that I was held in safety and security, because all of my beliefs that it depended on certain people, certain places, money in the bank account, everything that I believed safety and security was all about, was shown to me that it wasn't what I thought it was. So I had to be completely unwound and undone from all my beliefs in linear safety and security, to start to feel the strong presence of what was guiding me, and that was the safety. So I certainly pray, I wish that for you, Elisa, I wish that for everyone, to feel the gratitude of being held and carried in God's love, and not having to have an expectation that you have to do something for that you have to earn it, that you have to somehow make a way clear in time. Because in the end, it's Kirsten said that on Friday night when she was asked about prayer. She quoted a line from the Song of Prayer that says, "The secret of true prayer is to forget the things you think you need." That line right there is the exact opposite of all of our ideas of praying. So one line, it's to forget that. Because if you would forget everything that you think you need, you would have to just have faith and trust, right? I mean, what would you be left with if you let go of all your thoughts of what you think you need? Then you would just be left with the prayer of the heart. I'm yours, Lord. Have your way. Bring me into a state of joy. I'm all yours. So it's just such an honor to walk this path with you. And we are with you all the way, you know. We're just walking with you hand in hand and going through the miracle experiences every single moment of every single day along with you. And we're so grateful grateful that you're with us. We're all mighty companions to one another.
Love you guys.